Wildcats' 5-8 mark in conference play is far from stellar as well. It's Fordham against Davidson from the Rose Hill Gym next on WFUV Sports.
From the Rose Hill Gym here on the campus of Fordham University, this is Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports. I'm Nick Guzman alongside Lou Orlando. Today's matchup is between the Fordham Rams and the Davidson Wildcats. Lou, Fordham come in losers of 3 straight, 11-15 overall, 3-10 in the A10. That is enough to be in last place in the Atlantic 10 Conference. It's been a rough season for the Rams so far, and it feels like after those 2 losses on the road to Duquesne and Richmond, this might be the lowest point so far.
It's been a drag, and it certainly feels like a low point. That game against Duquesne was a winnable game, tied at halftime, and it felt like they didn't have anywhere close to the intensity they needed to win that game in the second half. It's back-to-back losses against teams that you look at and go, on a similar level, probably winnable games. You don't get either one, so you said it's 3 straight losses, and we keep hearing the phrases from Coach Ergo and this staff. Play a full 40 minutes of Fordham basketball and be the best team you can be going into the A10 tournament. Both of those things have eluded them so far. Time's right now, only 5 games left.
And the Wildcats, on the other hand, Lou, 15-11, 5-8 in the Atlantic 10. They're losers of 2 straight, both at home. Lost to Loyola Chicago last time out, 77-69. An uncharacteristic bad shooting night for some of their stars. The Wildcats, one of those teams in the middle of the pack in the A10, trying to make a late push-up.
And the pack of this A10, really everyone that's not the top, George Mason or VCU, or the bottom feeders, that being Fordham, all it takes are 1 or 2 wins to leap up 3-5 spots. Davidson wins today, they could be as high as 9th in the A10 by 4 p.m. They win 2 games, you could be right back in the mix, you could have a day 1 bye. So that's how quickly things can move and things can change in the A10. And it's going to stay that way the rest of the season. There's really only 2 guarantees, and that's that VCU and George Mason are going to have the double bye and they're going to play on the Friday. Everything else, it's up in the air.
Clash of the Titans today, VCU against George Mason. That's a 4 p.m. tip. We'll be sure to be tuning in for that one to see the elite of this conference. We've got starting lineups for you for both teams. Starting with Fordham, Jackie Johnson, Jaffe Medor, Ramad Dean, Abdu Timbila, and for the 2nd game in a row, Josh Rivera.
And Josh Rivera, he ends up with 10 points on the day. That game against Duquesne was not his best on Wednesday. Curious to see if he settles in a little bit better today.
Davidson, on the other hand, Reed Bailey, Hunter Adam, Bobby Durkin, Connor Kuchera, and Mike Loughnane. Hunter Adam coming in for Zach Laput.
Hunter Adam, that's an interesting choice coming off career-high 11 points, but you focus it on the big 3. It's Kuchera, it's Durkin, and it's, in my humble opinion, the favorite to win A10 Player of the Year, Reed Bailey, the big man averaging 19.8 points per game. He's a next-gen big man. He's a playmaker, 100 assists on the season. He can rebound, he can shoot the lights out, he makes tough shots in the paint. This guy is a problem. It's going to take all of Fordham's defensive focus to shut him down.
Reed Bailey, the Atlantic 10's leading scorer. Jackie Johnson right behind him in 2nd place. Both these teams, similar struggles on the defensive end. Both teams can score the basketball at a pretty high rate. It's about the other end that's the problem. Abdu Timbila against Reed Bailey on the opening tip. Fordham in white, Davidson in black. Bailey wins the tip into the backcourt. And the Wildcats will possess first. Connor Kuchera has it up high for Davidson. Out to the far wing against Josh Rivera. Played up high for Bobby Durkin. Pushed further in the corner. Durkin launches the 3. That's an air ball. Rebound Jackie Johnson, who can push quickly back the other way for the Rams. Johnson on this near side wing leaves for Jaffe Medor up high. 30 seconds gone by first half. Medor moving left. Still on the perimeter. Straight away for Abdu Timbila. Timbila, handoff for Johnson up high. 10 on the shot clock. Johnson thought about the long 3. Out to the far wing for Medor. 7 to shoot. Medor drives for Johnson straight away. 3 on the shot clock. Got to get it up. He hoists the deep 3 and banks it in. Jackie Johnson gets the Rams on the board. It's 3-0 a minute in.
Jackie Johnson shooting the ball as well as he ever has this season. Last time against Davidson, a career-high 16 three-point attempts. They can't allow that today.
Top of the key, Reed Bailey for the Wildcats. Out to the far wing for Durkin. Inside, this is Loughnane feeding Bailey down low. On the left block, Bailey with Dean watching him to the corner. Kuchera, his 3 off front rim. Bailey and Medor fight for the rebound. So does Timbila. Still loose. Finally, Josh Rivera will gather.
I'll tell you what, to start the game, 2 good looks from 3 from Davidson, 2 misses.
Jaffe Medor on the far wing for the Rams. Straight away here for Abdou Timbila. Dribble handoff out to the far side for Johnson. Johnson out to the far corner. Medor, his 3 is short. Rebound, Durkin. Wildcats back the other way. Bobby Durkin, an elite 3-point shooter out to that far side for Connor Kuchera. Driving baseline on Jaffe Medor, now backing him down. Kuchera using his size with the left hand, banks it in.
Kuchera, the man that Coach Ergo called the maestro, does a little bit of everything. He's been on a little bit of a skid for his numbers, all things considered, but still just so strong inside and going to have to keep eyes on that big 3 all game long.
A little over 2 minutes gone by here in the first half. Fordham 3, Davidson 2. Josh Rivera up high for the Rams, out to this near side wing for Jaffe Medor. A high screen from Timbila, straight away Rivera, out to the far wing. Johnson, that's a deep triple, he knocks it down again. 2 tough threes from Jackie Johnson, he's buried them both.
And you could argue he drew a foul there as well, did not have a ton of space to land.
Bailey into the paint against Timbila, spinning, off balance, couldn't bake it in. Abdou the rebound. 6-2 Fordham, 2.5 minutes gone by first half. Jackie Johnson into the front court for the Rams. Another screen from Timbila. Johnson drives, lefty floater, off the heel and out. Timbila the rebound, back up with it. His fadeaway rattles in.
This is as good of a start that you could have drawn up for the Fordham Rams. They're strong in the glass, they're making shots at a high rate, and they're playing great defensively so far.
Bailey out to the far wing for Bobby Durkin. Durkin spinning on Dean, gets inside in the paint. Durkin to the wing, Loughnane, his triple is pure. Mike Loughnane knocks it down. It's 8-5 Fordham.
Missed rotation, and that's what's going to happen if you're going to clog the paint, which you do need to do if you're going to shut down Reed Bailey, who has been unstoppable this season. If you're going to pay attention to that big 3, you're going to allow open looks around the perimeter. Loughnane's not their top scorer. He's not their go-to scorer. I think that's a shot you have to allow early on.
8-5 Fordham, 16:43 to go first half. The Rams have it in the front court straight away. This is Josh Rivera. Out to the far wing for Jackie Johnson. Screen from Timbila. Johnson splits 2 defenders into the paint, looking for Rivera. That's a turnover. Loose pass from Jackie. Back the other way comes Durkin. Inside, out to the wing. Loughnane's triple is perfect. Check that. That's Connor Kuchera on the far wing, burying it, and we're all tied at 8.
And it was a great pass by Loughnane to get it out there to Kuchera, and that's how quickly Davidson can score. They are one of the best offenses in the A-10, and they can shoot the ball well from beyond the arc.
Rivera has it up high here for the Rams. Out to the far wing, Jaffe Medor driving baseline on Loughnane, took some contact, and a whistle and a foul with 16 minutes to go in the first half. 8-8. We've reached the under 16 media timeout. It's Fordham 8, Davidson 8. You're listening to Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports.
What's up, everyone? I'm Lou Orlando.
I'm Nick Guzman.
And I'm Chaz McAdams.
We're your broadcasters for Fordham men's basketball.
Led by Jackie Johnson, Keith Ergo's Rams are looking to make waves in the 100th anniversary season at the Rose Hill Gym.
We've got you covered for the highs, the lows, the X's and O's as Fordham takes on the gauntlet of the A-10.
Don't miss a game. 90.7 FM WFUV is the home of Fordham men's basketball.
Welcome back inside the Rose Hill Gym. It's Fordham 8, Davidson 8 with 15:59 to go in the first half. I'm Nick Guzman alongside Lou Orlando. And Lou, when you look at this Fordham team on the season, 3-10 in the A-10, they're losers of 3 straight. You think after that Rhode Island win a couple weeks ago at home, then you've got Dayton at the Rose Hill Gym. You think that might be a game where you can get a big crowd and potentially push yourself to win that one. You drop that game, and then you lose 2 to fellow bottom feeders in the conference in Richmond and Duquesne. And for Fordham right now, sitting at 3-10 at dead last, the defense struggling so much. The offense is there, but at 3-10, it's been a tough stretch for this Fordham team.
And you keyed on it. It's the defense. It's the defensive issues. Even when they're winning games, Fordham needs to outscore opponents. And it's not that they can't. They actually do have a lot of offensive talent. They're averaging 75 points per game. They're 4th in the conference. It's just the second time since 1992 that they've averaged 75 points per game, especially if they end the season with that number. But they just can't play any level of consistent defense. You allow 70 points back-to-back games against Richmond and Duquesne, 2 of the worst offenses in the A-10. I just think that's very emblematic of the way this defense is played. They haven't been able to play with defensive consistency or intensity for 40 minutes. They allow a lot of runs. There's just a lot of holes in this defense that have not been shored up.
And as they have been all season, Fordham still last in the Atlantic 10 in opponents' points per game and last in opponent field goal percentage. It's been a staple of Keith Ergo teams in the past, has been the defense and defensive intensity. So it's been a little shocking to see just how much this team has struggled on that end of the floor.
You hear him say it all the time, defense wins games in the A-10. Look at the top 2 teams, Mason and VCU, 9th and 12th overall in D1 basketball in scoring defense. There's a reason that they've been the clear 1-2 punch in the A-10. It's because they play electric defense. That turns into offense.
Fordham to inbound underneath in the front court. Rivera into Abdu Timbila in this near side corner. Timbila backing down Reed Bailey to the wing for Johnson. At the baseline, Johnson retreats to the corner. 10 seconds to shoot. Johnson drives baseline out to the far corner for Rivera. That ball went out of bounds. It's going to be a turnover on the Rams.
Fordham getting off to that good start. This is now back-to-back empty possessions offensively, back-to-back possessions with turnovers for the Rams. Think back to that Duquesne game. 18 turnovers. It's been an issue all year long. They're a bottom 40 team in D1 basketball in turnovers per game. If they can't control the basketball, they're not going to win very many games the rest of the way.
Bailey up ahead for Davidson. Connor Kuchera has it up high for Bailey again. Top of the key against Matt Zona into the game for the first time. Bailey at the free throw line for Durkin. Has some space on the wing. His triple in and out. Rebound Matt Zona. Durkin was 0 of 9 from deep last time out against Loyola Chicago and just 1 of 13 from the field overall.
It's been a real struggle for him from 3, really the last 8-9 games, and he's gotten 2 good looks already today. He's missed both.
High screen from Zona. Jaffe Mador has it. Crossover, top of the key. Mador drives in the lane, gets inside through the contact, could not finish. Connor Kuchera back the other way for Davidson. On the far side wing, Kuchera driving, low block on Tripp. Using that body, spins with the left hand, flips it up and in.
Davidson has size, they have strength. 4 of the 5 guys in their starting lineup up over 200 pounds. They're all athletic though, they're all toned. They've all got speed. It's a really tough defensive matchup for the Rams. One they're probably not going to win every sequence.
10-8 Davidson, 14:39 to go first half. Matt Zona has it up high for the Rams with 13 on the shot clock. Handoff for Jameer Tripp. Tripp inside, out to the far wing. Rivera gets inside, went for the Showtime dunk. It's blocked away by Bailey. Back the other way come the Wildcats, poked away from LaPut from behind. Zach Riley fighting for it on the ground with Manny Joseph, and that's going to be a jump ball.
Possession arrow going for them, so they'll keep it. Credit to Josh Rivera, right? He goes for the big 2-hand slam. He gets blocked by Joseph. What does he do? Gets back on defense, pokes the ball loose. Riley's able to fall in it. That's what Fordham and this staff are preaching. When you make mistakes, don't hang your head. Get right back on defense. Make a positive play.
You can't let the mistakes on one end impact the play on the other.
How many times have you heard that in every single sport? But it persists in college. I think it even persists to a certain level to the pros.
So 10-8 Davidson, 14:13 to go first half. Rivera, handoff for Zach Riley up high. For Zona, he'll pop the triple. No good, missed to the left. Tripp fighting for the rebound. A foul called underneath against the Wildcats.
I gotta say, I like how Fordham is battling down low. One of the things, talk to the Davidson assistants, they said we gotta win the rebound battle. Think back to last year, Fordham beats Davidson in the A-10 championship round 1. They did it on the glass, they did it with physicality. Fordham coming out with a physical edge today.
Mador to inbound, flips up to Matt Zona at the top of the key. Dribble handoff for Jameer Tripp. Tripp behind the back, still top of the key with 13 on the shot clock. Crossover, drives right, tough contested shot, wouldn't go. Riley keeps it alive with the offensive board. Out to Rivera, the near wing 3, no good. Missed way too strong off the glass. They go to the ground with it, and we'll see what the call is here. It's going to be a foul called against Reed Bailey.
You can get fouls on Reed Bailey, obviously, and that's a really good thing. He's a problem. He plays close to 40 minutes a game. Fordham getting offensive rebounds. The shots are not falling. That Josh Rivera missed the rim entirely, but if you're going to play well on the glass, you're going to give yourself second chance points, second chance opportunities. Eventually, they're going to fall.
Medor looking for an option, flips up to Matt Zona on the far wing. Zona, handoff up high for Riley, fakes the three, out to the far wing for Tripp. Knifes inside, Tripp the jump step and the beautiful move with the left hand.
Love the aggressiveness from Tripp. He's come out with a little bit of a fire under his butt today.
Connor Kuchera to this near wing for Laputte, into the corner for Bailey. Against Matt Zona, Bailey into the paint, spins right, Bailey off the glass, would not go. Rebound Zona. Medor quickly in transition. Driving right on Joseph, shot wouldn't go off the bottom of the backboard. Last touch off the Rams as the ball went out of bounds to the baseline. Davidson basketball.
Seems like this last sequence, there's a heavy focus from the Fordham offensive team on let's drive inside, let's get to the paint, let's try and draw fouls, or let's try and make some of these tough shots. It seems like every time they get into their half-court set, it's some drive into the lane.
Fordham 10, Davidson 10, 13-10 to go, first half. Up high, Connor Kuchera for the Wildcats. Feeds down low for Bailey, inside for Laputte. That's going to be a push, I believe, on Matt Zona is the call.
Fordham playing very physical with Reed Bailey down low. They've done a really good job. That was an emphasis from Coach Ergo, is we have to make life really difficult on Reed Bailey because you can double him. You can play the best defense you've ever played in your life.
Out.
He's going to make tough shots, and he's a great facilitator. He'll pass out. So I think you're going to have to take some of those fouls throughout this game. You can't let him get whatever he wants out there.
Off the inbounds, Kuchera up high against Tripp. Zona switches on to him. Bobby Durkin, blow by on Dean, and Bobby Durkin throws it down. 12-10, Davidson, under 13 to go first half.
I wonder if the message from Ergo is stop Reed Bailey, and we'll see if anyone else beats us, because they were really worried about him on the pick and roll.
Near wing, this is Zach Riley. For Dean, straight away Tripp, swung out to the far wing for Jackie Johnson. Zona the screen, Johnson straight away with 10 on the shot clock. Against Joseph, Johnson to the near wing, Dean's triple, too strong. Rebound secured by the Wildcats. Laputte ahead for Bailey. Kuchera on the near side wing. With Zona watching him, Kuchera crossover, gets to the lane, the backdoor cut, beautiful move by Laputte for the reverse leg.
It's really good motion by Davidson. That's one of the things that makes their offense so tough to guard. They are always moving, all 5 men on the court, always moving, always cutting.
14-10 Wildcats, 12 minutes to go first half. Johnson straight away for Zona. Handoff Jameer Tripp, thought about the three, instead will penetrate into the lane. Tripp, wild shot wouldn't go. Reed Bailey the board. Bobby Durkin pushing the tempo for the Wildcats inside. Joseph had a step on Dean, and he throws it down with the right hand.
That's a defensive lapse by Ramad Dean, just not paying attention to where Joseph sneaks behind him. It's an easy, wide-open layup for him instead of get back on defense.
6-0 run for the Wildcats. It's 16-10 Davidson. Johnson almost lost it up high against Joseph. Zona the screen, 12 on the shot clock. Johnson drives, lefty floaters, perfect. That's his shot in the lane. Back the other way come the Wildcats with 11-13 to go in the first half. 4-point lead over the Rams. Kuchera backing down Johnson, gets into the lane, spins, lefty hook, got the kind roll. Connor Kuchera doing some damage in the post.
9 points in the first 10 minutes of this game. All right, you're going to take away Reed Bailey. Davidson's got two other elite scorers they can turn to and give the rock.
18 wing for Jackie Johnson, and they're going to get Zona for the illegal screen. And that's going to be another turnover for the Rams.
This is the challenge for Fordham. You can't get into a shootout with Davidson. It's not going to go your way. The well drying up offensively, the lanes opening up defensively. That's a bad, bad mix.
So at the under 12 media timeout, the score, Davidson 18, Fordham 12 with 10:43 to go in the first half. We'll send it back to our Rose Hill studios for the one-on-one scoreboard with Mary Hawthorn.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
Kicking things off with A10 men's basketball today, Richmond headed to Philly to face St. Joseph's at 12:30 p.m. The Hawks currently lead 54-37. Rhode Island faces St. Louis in Missouri with a tip-off at 2:30 p.m. Early in action for everyone else, George Mason heads to Richmond, Virginia to face VCU. Tip-off is at 4 p.m. and the winner gets the number 1 seat in the A-10s. The St. Bonaventure Bonnies will face the Duquesne Dukes at home at 4 p.m. And later tonight, UMass visits the nation's capital to play George Washington at 6 p.m. On the women's side of the A-10, the Fordham Rams are facing Dayton away. Score there is 32-26 at the half. St. Louis is at Duquesne, and St. Bonaventure is at LaSalle this afternoon as well. For a couple of top 25 matchups, Tennessee is at Texas A&M. Vols won in a close game, 77-69. And tonight at 6 p.m., Florida takes on LSU in Baton Rouge. With your scoreboard updates, I'm Mary Hawthorn.
Thanks, Mary. We're back here in the Rose Hill Gym where Davidson have an 18-12 lead over Fordham with 10:43 to go in the first half. Nick Guzman here alongside Lou Orlando. And Lou, it's been Connor Kuchera early doing a lot of the damage for the Wildcats, but he's part of, I guess you could call it a big three, a three-headed monster of him, Reed Bailey, and Bobby Durkin is the third member of that. It's as good of a three-headed monster maybe as there is in the A-10. You think about St. Louis and what they have out there with Avila and Swope and Jimerson as well.
I think you really have to like this three-man combo. If they're not number one, I think they're certainly in the top three of the conference. Reed Bailey gets a lot of love, the leading scorer in the A-10, highly efficient inside, but the other two guys that round it out is what makes this crew so dangerous. Bobby Durkin is an elite three-point shooter. Even with his struggles lately, last 8 games shooting 26% from beyond the arc, he's still second in the conference in three-point percentage. And then you have Kuchera, who can just do a little bit of everything. They're all strong on the glass. Kuchera's 6'5", Durkin 6'7", Bailey 6'10", so they all have size. They're all athletic. And again, Fordham is taking away Reed Bailey and the paint right now. It's similar to what we saw back on January 11th when they visited the Wildcats. They honed in on Reed Bailey. All right, they got two other guys that can beat you. Durkin's got an open look so far. He's only missed because I think he's struggling a little bit right now, and Kuchera has come shot out of a cannon. There's a reason that this offense, this Davidson offense, has given a lot of defenses a lot of trouble. It all starts with that three-headed monster.
You know Bobby Durkin's not going to stop shooting, averages 7.8 three-point attempts per game. This is Loughnane up high for the Wildcats. Josh Rivera watching him closely for Bobby Durkin on this near wing. Joe Hurlburt into the game, sets the screen up high. Durkin picked up his dribble, backdoor cut, inside again for Hurlburt to the corner. They'll drive. Loughnane over Timbila. Off front rim, and Jackie Johnson can secure the board.
It's a great leap by Ramad Dean, gets a tip on it to get it to Johnson.
Rivera was open for three, instead will drive, some contact, they're gonna say no shot, foul on the floor, and Fordham will take the basketball underneath.
And here's the question for Fordham. You're not gonna shut down this Davidson offense, you're not gonna shut down Reed Bailey, it just doesn't happen. Can you beat a Davidson defense that has a lot of issues? Can you find the openings?
You're going to have to outscore them. That's what it's going to have to be, considering the profiles of both these teams. Rivera from the free throw line, a tough shot off the heel, falling away. It's no good. There's a whistle underneath. Foul called against Davidson. With 10:03 to go in the first half, they lead Fordham 18-12. And Fordham once again will inbound the ball underneath. Rams on the season 11-15, 3-10 in the A-10, trying to snap that three-game losing streak. Medor's inbounds pass was deflected. Timbila couldn't control it. Back the other way comes Lapointe, blocked away by Medor from behind. And they're going to say the ball went out of bounds on the baseline. Davidson will keep it. Jaffe Medor flew to block that ball.
His vertical is insane. He got back, he leaped over and got two hands on the ball. That's an unreal play.
Kuchera will inbound underneath for the Wildcats. 9:55 to go first half. Flipped up high for Hurlburt. Handoff for Kuchera. Straight away against Josh Rivera. Roberts Blooms has it on the far wing. Down low. Hurlburt against Timbila. For Durkin. In the far corner, Durkin gets inside, pulls up from mid-range over Abdu. Shot off the heel. They're going to call a foul underneath on Jaffe Medor, I believe, as Fordham were fighting for the rebound. It'll stay on this end.
It's tough. I still think Fordham's doing such a nice job on the glass, on that play. Abdu Timbila, good box out, rises up, grabs the ball. But if you're going to play physical down low, if you're going to box out, probably going to be subject to a couple of those loose ball fouls.
Kuchera flips up high for Reed Bailey, top of the key against Ramad Dean. Bailey backing him down, lost the handle. Last touch off of Bailey, Fordham basketball.
I think Johnson poked that one loose. Reed Bailey arguing that it was Johnson that touched it last, but either way, that's a double. It's a late double, a late blitz by Johnson when Bailey's at his back to the basket, but looking towards the hoop to knock it away.
Positive sequence on the defensive end for the Rams there. 9:20 to go first half. Dean feeds inside. Timbila against Laput, puts it up and in. The size mismatch, and Abdu takes advantage.
It's a good read by Dean, and how about Abdu recognizing, I have the advantage here. Let me turn around and lay this in.
Reed Bailey, top of the key, out to the far wing for Bobby Durkin. It's 18-14 Davidson. 9 minutes to go first half. On the near wing, it's Connor Kuchera for cutting Durkin. Beautiful move, and he gets by Medor to lay it in.
The cuts from Davidson, that's going to be a problem for him defensively. You have to be so engaged to stay with all this motion, all this action they have in the half-court set.
Johnson, the handoff for Rivera. Driving right, spins, got the friendly roll with the left hand. Pretty move from Josh Rivera to get the Rams back within 4.
I'll tell you what, I think Fordham's starting to realize that if they drive to the net, Davidson's really not going to be able to stop them consistently.
Kuchera up high. Bailey will try the three. That's good. Doesn't take a lot of those, but shoots at such a high clip. 44% on the year, and he knocks that one down.
They take that up to 45% with that one, but yes, he's not going to take a ton. But if you leave him open, he is a legitimate playmaker.
23-16 Wildcats, 8:10 to go first half. Jackie Johnson up high will try the long three, in and out. Rebound loose, secured by Bailey. Timbila pressured him, able to get it out of his hands to Zach Laput. Laput for Kuchera, near side wing. Jaffe Medor on him, inside for Durkin. Durkin lost his dribble, gets inside anyway on Johnson. Shot wouldn't go. A foul underneath, I believe, on the putback. And that will take us to our under 8 media timeout with 7:50 to go in the first half. The score, Davidson 23, Fordham 16. You're listening to Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports.
Hi, this is Ben Oppenheimer reminding you to tune in to New York's longest-running sports call-in show, One on One. Catch One on One live on the WFUV Sports YouTube channel every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then later on 90.7 FM from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. We'll catch you next Saturday on One on One.
Welcome back to the Rose Hill Gym. Davidson 23, Fordham 16 with 7:50 to go in the first half. Nick Guzman here alongside Lou Orlando. For the first time, we'll send it over to the third member of our crew, Annabelle Watson. Annabelle, what do you got?
Yeah, thank you, Nick. I noticed Coach Oko having extensive conversations with Matt Zona. Zona's been finding himself in some foul trouble early in this first half, so Urgo seemed to be giving him a pep talk of sorts to help him get back on track. We know Zona's very capable. He just has to steer clear of those fouls. So we'll see when he checks back into the game. Back to you, Nick.
Thanks, Annabelle. Matt Zona with those 2 quick personal fouls. It's been a really up and down year for the Notre Dame transfer. He was able to kind of right himself from deep on that road trip, had 12 points against Duquesne, 7 against Richmond, but on the defensive end, has still struggled a little bit against the elite bigs of this conference.
Yes, absolutely. He's got a tough task today, him and Abdu Timbila. And Zona being in early foul trouble here, 7:50 left in the first half. That's a problem because Fordham really only has two true centers at this stage of the game. Jaden Smith is not active right now. So it's him and Timbila. They're the only ones that really have the size to battle with Reed Bailey. If one of them gets into foul trouble, which both have over the course of this season, Abdu Timbila gets into foul trouble a lot, then you're stuck trying to match up Bailey against either Jameer Tripp, Josh Rivera, or Ramad Dean. That's not a matchup you're going to win a lot. It's going to be tough to win that matchup even with Timbila and Zona. So Zona being in foul trouble, that's not a good sign for the Rams, especially down 23-16 right here where you feel like Reed Bailey's starting to heat up. He hit that 3 right before break.
For Fordham on offense, it's Jackie Johnson leading the way with 8 points on 3 of 5 shooting. Abdu Timbila with 4 on a perfect 2 of 2. Also 3 boards for him and 1 personal foul. On the Davidson side of things, it's been really the Connor Kuchera show. 9 points on 4 of 5 shooting. And he's been doing a lot of it backing down in the post.
He's just he's so strong. And yes, he's 6'5". That's not small by any means, but I think he plays above his size down low.
Durkin inbounds in the front court to Bailey, backing down on Timbila. Bailey into the paint, spinning left off the glass and in. Just so good in that area.
Those are the tough shots that Coach Ergo is talking about. Hand in his face, but the spin around rises up. It's off glass.
25-16 Davidson, 7:30 to go first half. Jackie Johnson near side wing against Roberts Blooms. Johnson gets to the baseline, forced to pick up his dribble. Dean near wing is open for 3. That's an air ball. He missed it long. Rebound Bobby Durkin. Back the other way for the Wildcats. Up high Durkin. They're going to get Jaffe Mador for a foul down low on Connor Kuchera.
That's his second. That's something that they cannot afford. He has been such an integral part of Fordham turning this offensive product around, and he'll take a seat. 32 minutes against Duquesne. That was Mador's lowest since the season or the conference opener against St. Louis. He's played a lot.
Dean and Mador check out. Ryan Pettis, the freshman, is in along with Zach Riley. We saw Pettis for the first time in a long time in the last game against Duquesne. Bailey got around Timbila and floats it up and in with the right hand.
And Abdu gets all the way up, full extension, but Reed Bailey has that long wingspan. He's got that soft touch. Again, third in the A10 field goal percentage. He's an all-around elite product.
27-16 Davidson, under 7 to go first half. Jackie Johnson creates some space. From mid-range, it's in and out. Just to the left of the left elbow, no good. Back the other way comes Durkin. Durkin slipped on the gym floor. Rivera goes to the ground and steals it away. And Ryan Pettis will settle things down for the Rams. Gonna have to clean up that spot. It's 27-16 Davidson, 6:30 to go first half. Timbila to Rivera, driving baseline, jump step inside with the right hand off front rim and out. Rebound secured by Hunter Adam. Bailey quickly back the other way for Davidson. Against Zach Riley, Davidson spinning baseline, into the lane, Davidson. Bailey off the front rim and in. Reed Bailey making his presence known in the post. It's now 29-16 Wildcats.
6 straight points for Reed Bailey. He gets lined up that time against Zach Riley, and that's one where if you're Abdu Timbila, you kind of have to leave your man, even though he's relatively close to the paint. You got to help out Zach Riley there. That's a matchup he's never going to win.
That's a timeout for Keith Ergo with 6:07 to go in the first half. It's Davidson 29, Fordham 16, a 9-0 run for the Flyers. The last time out, Reed Bailey only had 3 points. We were talking all about Connor Kuchera. In the blink of an eye, Bailey up to 9 on 4 of 6 shooting.
That's how quickly he can get going. I don't say this lightly that he's the A10 Player of the Year favorite. It's not just because he leads the conference in scoring. It's everything. He's so efficient with his scoring. He's so dynamic. He can score in different spots. You can double him, and he's still going to rise up, fade away, and has the touch to make all these different shots in the paint. I think there's a reason people are starting to wonder, is he going to be on NBA draft boards? Maybe not this year, but next year as a senior. I think there's some merit to that.
Well, anytime you lead the conference in scoring, shooting at above a 50% clip, as Jackie Johnson hoists a 3 from the far wing, in and out. Bobby Durkin the rebound, back the other way for the Wildcats. Durkin stolen away by Josh Rivera. Read that pass perfectly. And Rivera the other way for the Rams. Straight away for Jackie Johnson. Against Joseph, Johnson got the step with the right hand, couldn't get it to go.
Well has dried up 1 for their last 9 from the field.
Locknane to Durkin far wing. Locknane up high against Ryan Pettis. 5:25 to go first half. On the wing for Durkin. Feeds Bailey in the corner. Squeezes through Zona and Riley. To the near wing for Hunter Adam. Up high again for Bailey. 10 to shoot. Against Johnson. Bailey attacks the mismatch. Finishes and gets the foul. Fordham cannot stop Reed Bailey right now. It's 11 points for him. And 8 rather, in the blink of an eye.
They can't stop Reed Bailey. They can't stop this Davidson offense, and they can't get anything to go on the other end. A few minutes ago, I was going to say, they've gotten off to a better start than the first time they played Davidson when they had their worst first half of the season. It's starting to look like that again, where the lid is on the basket. They can't make a shot, and they can't get stops.
Bailey completes the three-point play. They get 32-16 Davidson with 5:11 to go in the first half. Fordham trailed the Wildcats by 16 at the half when these two teams played in early January down in North Carolina. Had a better second half performance, but the first half deficit was just too much to come back from. Tripp on this near side wing for the Rams. Up high for Matt Zona. Zona dribble handoff for Pettis on the far side. Pettis crossover, spinning in the lane, up high for Riley, trying to feed Zona, stolen away by Davidson. Joe Hurlburt read that pass perfectly. Kuchera, Pettis slipped. Kuchera couldn't finish at the cup. Zona the rebound, and Tripp can carry ahead for the Rams. Under 5 to go. First half, Zona from the top of the key, his three is short. Fordham cannot buy a basket right now. Rebound by Davidson. Kuchera has it for the Wildcats. Near wing for LaPut. Up high, Hurlburt for Hunter Adam on the far side. 50 on the shot clock. Near wing, Joseph against Ramad Dean. 10 to shoot. It's going to be a foul underneath. We'll see who they get on it. I believe it's on the Rams. The foul is on the floor. With 4:14 to go in the first half, it's a Ryan Pettis foul. 32-16 Davidson. Fordham shooting just 28% from the field and 20% from deep.
And that foul puts Davidson in the bonus, which is not the spot that Fordham wants to be in or wants to put Davidson in. And you said the well has completely dried up offensively. 4.5 minute scoreless drought. They can't buy a bucket.
The front half of the 1-and-1 is good from Zach LaPut.
Here's the thing. If you're a team that struggles defensively like the Rams do, all right, you can win games struggling defensively. You can't go on 5-minute scoring droughts offensively.
Especially not against a team like this, where their weakness is supposed to be on the defensive end of the floor. And Fordham just out of ideas offensively, cannot get a shot to go. It's 34-16 Davidson, 4:09 to go first half. Up high, this is Tripp for Jaffe Medor at the Script Fordham logo. Another foul off ball. This one's against the Wildcats.
And now you're one Davidson foul away from being in the bonus. Free throw shooting outside of Wednesday against Duquesne has actually been a positive for the Rams. Maybe that's the way you get back into it. I'm always a proponent of if you can get points when the game clock is stopped, that's usually a good thing.
Fordham have not gone to the free throw line so far this afternoon. Medor in the lane, rises up off front rim and out. Ramad Dean, the offensive board underneath. Kicks to the near wing. Zach Riley has it. Will settle things down for Zona. Up high, Jaffe Medor. Out to the far wing, Jameer Tripp. Gets inside, righty floater, way too strong. Rebound loose, comes out to the perimeter. Zach Riley has it. Fordham keeping the possession alive again. Zona open for three. He cashes that one to break the drought.
They needed it bad, and if Fordham's going to storm back in this game, rebounding is an area where they can body Richmond or body Davidson and where they can beat them.
34-19 Wildcats in the corner. That's a three, and that's perfect from Hunter Adam. Had a little bit of space in that far corner, and he buries the three.
That stings, and Coach Ergo upset about that one. You need to know that Hunter Adam is the guy you close out on.
Shooting at above a 40% clip on the year from deep. Jaffe Medor has it at the Fordham logo. Fordham down 18 here in the first half. Straight away, Jameer Tripp. Gets inside again. Tripp takes the contact, able to flip it up and in, and the foul. Jameer Tripp will go to the free throw line for one more. The under 4 media timeout. It's Davidson 37, Fordham 21 with 2:54 to go in the first half. We'll send it back to our Rose Hill studios for the one-on-one scoreboard with Mary Hawthorn.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
Checking back in with A10 men's basketball, Rhode Island is getting ready for their 2:30 p.m. tip-off in St. Louis. It's an exciting Saturday night in the NBA. The Suns are in Chicago to play the Bulls at 5 p.m. The Nets are in Philly to play the 76ers at 7:30 p.m. Lakers go against the Nuggets in Denver at 8:30. And finally, the Rockets face the Jazz at 9:30 p.m. in the Delta Center. In Dayton, Ohio, the Lady Rams are fighting hard versus the Dayton Flyers, trailing behind at 43-44 with 9 minutes left of the fourth quarter. In the NHL, the Red Wings are up 2-1 against the Minnesota Wild. The Edmonton Oilers are leading 2-1 against the Philadelphia Flyers. Finally, at 5:30, the New York Rangers will face the Buffalo Sabres at the KeyBank Center. And finally, from Major League Baseball, Juan Soto launches a home run in first Mets at bat. With your updates, I'm Mary Hawthorn.
Thanks, Mary. Welcome back inside the Rose Hill Gym. Davidson with a 37-21 lead over the Fordham Rams with 2:54 to go in the first half. This is Nick Guzman here alongside Lou Orlando. And Lou, this is not the first time these two teams met on January 11th in North Carolina. Myself and Chaz McAdams were on the call for that one. That was a game where Fordham went down 16 in the first half and tried to claw their way back in the second. Only were able to get that deficit down to single digits in the waning moments. Just not enough time for Fordham to get back in that one. It was Bailey with 23, Kuchera with 20, and Durkin with 15, the three-headed monster on full display.
And would you look at it right now, Fordham trailing by 16. So a little bit of a chance to learn. We're supposed to learn from our history. You have 2 minutes and 54 seconds to claw back in, and I would say cut this lead to single digits at halftime. Fordham is not a strong enough team right now to overcome a double-digit lead at halftime, especially to this Davidson team. So you got 2:54. You finally got the shots to fall a little bit. Go on a run here, and maybe you'll have a chance in the second half to come back.
Jameer Tripp trying to complete the three-point play from the free throw line, and it rattles in and out. Hands on the head from Tripp, who missed 4 free throws in the game against Richmond, including 2 in the final minute.
It's a game that got decided by 4 points.
Kuchera straight away with Fordham in their 3-2 zone for the first time. Reed Bailey setting up in the middle of it. Kuchera for Durkin up high. Trying to find Bailey in the middle. Durkin to this near wing for Hunter Adam. Tripp and Medora on him. They finally find Bailey inside with the left hand off the glass. No good. Rebound Riley. Medora back the other way for Fordham. On this near side wing with 2:20 to go in the first half. Medora handoff up high for Josh Rivera. Pushed out to the far wing for Jameer Tripp. Zona the screen. Tripp for Rivera. Flipping inside for Zona. It's going to be a foul underneath against Reed Bailey as Matt Zona tried to get set up in the post.
Bailey's second, and it's going to get Fordham to the line for a 1-and-1. It's a good read there by Rivera. It's Zona contested tightly by Reed Bailey, but anytime you can get a post touch, you got the chance to draw a foul.
37-21 Davidson with 2:07 to go in the first half. A 1-and-1 chance for Matt Zona. 3 points, 4 boards for him so far on the day. Zona on the year is 71.2% free throw shooter. It seems like he's been solid in most games, but there's been a handful here and there where he just loses the touch from the line.
And big moments, too. It does seem like when the game gets tough, every once in a while, Matt Zona has a crucial error.
Zona misses way short on that free throw, just barely grazed the front of the rim. And Davidson can set up the other way on offense. Durkin kicked by Johnson as he tried to get into the passing lane. Whistle that down. Davidson will inbound side out.
It's just frustrating. You're looking at Fordham in this first half, 31% from the field, 27% from 3. Those are not good rates. You can't then afford to go 0 for 2 from the free throw line.
Kuchera has it off the inbound for Loughnane, back for Kuchera. Still on the perimeter, Fordham in that 3-2 look. Inside for Laputte. Riley pressures him. Kuchera got some space for 3 off the heel. Adam went for the rebound. He fell down. That's going to be a foul called against the Rams.
I don't know. They're going to get that one in Abdu Timbila. I'm just not sure. I think that's one. Hunter Adam leans back into Timbila, tries to jump back. That ball's going back towards where Timbila is. Adam tries as is his right to jump up and get to it, but if you jump into Timbila, that's not his fault.
That's 2 fouls now on Abdu. It's 37-21 Davidson, 1:43 to go in the first half, and a 1-on-1 opportunity here for Hunter Adam. One of 2 New Zealanders on the court right now, him and Zach Riley.
From different spots in New Zealand, but Hunter Adam, big deal in New Zealand, captain of their national team, led them to gold in 2022.
And he's been a big spark off the bench this year for the Wildcats.
He's got a reputation in the A-10. He is a fiery spark in more ways than just his playing ability.
Adam goes 2 for 2 from the line, 39-21 Wildcats, 1:40 to go in the first half. Zach Riley up high for the Rams. Dribble handoff for Josh Rivera. Straight away again for Jameer Tripp. Tripp fakes the handoff to Johnson, instead will knife inside. Tripp to the corner. Rivera drives baseline, takes some contact, and finishes perfectly with the reverse leg.
It's a funny sequence. He passes up a wide open 3, drives through contact, and makes the reverse layup, but whatever works, man.
Josh Rivera always looking to attack. Bobby Durkin straight away. Inside for Laputte. Up high again for Kuchera. Straight away. Dean on him. Kuchera gets inside. Pump fake. Trying to draw some contact. Puts it in anyway.
This Davidson team just makes tough shots. Tough contested shots.
Back to an 18-point Wildcat lead. 52 seconds to go first half. Tripp again gets inside. Spinning. Tripp. Contact. He's fouled as he shot, and Jameer Tripp will go to the free throw line.
You're seeing a more concentrated aggressiveness from Jameer Tripp in this game. He wants to get into the lane. He wants to get to the paint. He wants to draw fouls. He's trying to work his way open underneath. Jameer Tripp, I think, at times has been someone that gets, in conference play, invisible on the court. You don't feel his presence. At least in this first half, I've noticed Jameer Tripp a lot. He's been a very loud player today.
He's only 2 of 5 from the field, but he's had at least 6 or 7 drives into the lane that have been dangerous as Tripp misses the free throw off the heel. But you're right, Lou, there are stretches of games this season where Tripp almost is like a passenger on the court, and it looks like every time he gets it, he's just trying to move the ball. But he's a guy who has so much skill one-on-one, can get inside and finish at the basket.
I still think about the quote from Trey Woodall, which was he can get to spots of the court that no one else on this team can, and that's true. He's 6'7" with guard skills.
And Tripp rattles home the second free throw. So it's 41-24 Davidson, 45 seconds to go first half. The Wildcats across the timeline through Locknane into the corner. Durkin open, the three's in and out, rebound by Tripp. 35 to go in the half, 27 on the shot clock. Josh Rivera on the near side, backing down. On Laputte, Rivera, the turnaround shot wouldn't go, and he can't gather the rebound either. Hunter Adam ahead for Kuchera. With the shot clock turned off, Matt McKillop will use his use it or lose it timeout with 19.9 on the clock.
It came in out of the media timeout, so you got 2:54. You're trailing by 16. Try and cut into this deficit in any way. They now trail by 17. Davidson has the ball with a chance. They could make this as much as a 20-point lead going into halftime after what I thought was a really strong start by the Fordham Rams, at least the first 4 minutes. Davidson's taken full control of this game.
They've just had trouble getting into good scoring areas and finishing. I mean, you think about 2 of the early threes from Jackie Johnson. Those were bombs from way downtown that probably are ill-advised shots that went anyway. But you think about how many good open looks has Fordham converted in this game. There's not many.
I mean, Fordham, clearly they're hunting threes. They did the same thing when they were in North Carolina against Davidson. Jackie Johnson had a career-high 16 three-point attempts, so that's clearly something that's on the mind of the Fordham Rams. I think the size, the overwhelming size of Davidson, they might not be a great defensive team. They don't even protect the rim that well. They're dead last in the conference in blocks, but they have size and athleticism, and Fordham's really having trouble getting by them on the perimeter.
We'll see what Matt McKillop has drawn up after this timeout. There's 15 seconds in the game clock. Shot clock turned off. Mike Locknane has it up high for the Wildcats. Now 10 to go. Davidson yet to get into their action. Now they will. Kuchera with 7. Straight away for Adam. With 4 seconds, Adam will hoist the 3 off front rim and out. Johnson with 2 from 3/4 court. Jackie Johnson off the backboard, off the rim and out. Almost a Sports Center top 10 moment from Jackie Johnson, but Lou, Fordham trailed Davidson 41-24 at the half.
They came out knowing what they wanted to do. They wanted to get the big three going, and they wanted to feed Reed Bailey. Reed Bailey, a game-high 12 points in the first half, 5 of 8 shooting. Davidson shooting 53% from the field in that first half. It was domination by their offense, and the Fordham offense worked to a complete standstill about halfway through the first half, and that's how you get to a 17-point deficit.
So at the half, the score, Davidson 41, Fordham 24. And we'll send it back to our Rose Hill studios for the one-on-one halftime report with Zach Cordova.
The one-on-one halftime report.
Welcome into the one-on-one halftime report. I'm Zach Cordova, joined alongside by Mary Hawthorn, and we've made it to the halfway point, and so far it's been a one-sided affair with the Davidson Wildcats leading the Fordham Rams 41-24 here at the break. But before we get to our halftime show, our guys Lou and Nick caught up with Coach Ergo pregame. Here's that.
Nick Guzman here alongside Lou Orlando with Fordham men's basketball head coach Keith Ergo ahead of their game at the Rose Hill Gym against Davidson Saturday afternoon. Coach, first, the tough road trip losses to Richmond and Duquesne. In that Duquesne game, 18 turnovers, that's what hops off the stat sheet when you look at it. What was your initial reaction to that effort?
Yeah, I mean, the effort was fantastic, quite frankly. Our guys are playing hard as hell, and they're dialed in. The film sessions and practices have literally been fantastic. Look, these kids are working their butts off, and unfortunately we just haven't made some plays when we've needed to. Duquesne is a really good team at home. They're 5-1 for a reason at home. They played with some different energy, and we had so many chances. But, yeah, we got to take care of the basketball. They didn't do a whole lot that we weren't prepared for. We just got to take care of the ball. And then defensively, quite frankly, against Richmond, we had our best half of the year. And then the second best half was the first half against Duquesne as far as defensive effort and what we want to do defensively. Now, it's all we focused on the last couple of weeks because, you know, we're third in the A-10 scoring 75 points a game. I think, that's second or third most since 1989. So offensively, you know, we're doing some good things. However, defensively, we're not who we've been in the past. And these guys understand that. They understand you win in March with defense. So, you know, unfortunately, we've been playing really solid defense for 20 the last 2 games. And then I think we got to about 25-27 against Duquesne. In late February into March, you got to get to 30-35, close to 40 by March, by the tournament. So these guys understand that. It's been our conversation. I'm really happy with how hard we're playing, our defensive effort, but we've got to be able to sustain that. And unfortunately, playing and building those habits, it's affected our offense a little bit because guys are, we're exerting more energy than we have on the defensive end, which we have to understand that's important here at the end of the season.
Staying in line with that defense, Davidson's got that big three. Bailey, Durkin, Kuchera. You saw in January how quickly that trio can go off.
Yeah.
What's the challenge in stopping them?
Yeah, I mean, Bailey is fantastic off the dribble. He's so skilled. He's making plays. When you double him, he can make plays out of the double, right? Durkin is an elite shooter. You cannot let him get threes off. You got to make him dribble the basketball. And Kuchera can do a little bit of everything, man. He's the maestro. And so we gotta be really physical with those guards on the perimeter, make sure they're taking tough contested twos. Bailey, we got to mix up some looks. Blitz him when we can, play one-on-one when we can. We just got to be really solid. It's not necessarily about getting stops. We did a tremendous job against Richmond and Duquesne. But in the second half against Duquesne, they had 9 offensive rebounds, and they made 9 more free throws than we did. The last 2 games, we struggled from the free throw line. 1 to 2 possession games, which is almost everything in February and March. You got to rebound, and you got to make free throws, and our guys understand that. But they're a difficult matchup. But don't forget, it was a 5-point game. Jaffe Amador shooting 2 free throws with 40 seconds left at their place. Right, so it is what it is. We've always had really tough physical matchups against them. Tomorrow's going to be no different.
Thanks, Coach.
Go Rams.
Well, that was the voices of Lou Orlando and Nick Guzman catching up with Coach Ergo before the game. But here we are now at the half, and the Rams find themselves in a deep hole, down 41-24 to the Davidson Wildcats. And what are you seeing so far in this game, Mary?
Well, considering last year, I knew that this was going to be an exciting game, Fordham versus Davidson in the first round of the A-10 tournament. That was an electric game. So it's unfortunate that the Rams are in a tough spot right now. I mean, we saw some early threes from Jackie Johnson that were kind of ill-advised shots, but went in anyway. But it seemed like halfway through, things started to go awry.
Definitely, and once it falls apart, it feels like for the Rams, the wheels really fall off the bus. We've talked about it a lot in the past couple weeks now with the men's team and how they tend to kind of fall apart in these matchups, especially when their opponents get going. And Coach Ergo talked about it in the pregame. Lou and Nick have been talking about it the whole game. Reed Bailey and Coach Hara are two guys who are just dominating the Fordham team so far. Reed Bailey so far at the half, 12 points, 5 for 8 from the field. He's knocked down a 3. He's got 2 rebounds, and he's played 14 minutes of that 20-minute first half. And alongside with that, Coach Harris got 11 to go with him, and 3 rebounds, 3 assists. So far, just picking apart the Fordham defense. Doesn't seem like they have really any answer for them.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. Lou and Nick both described the Davidson offense as a 3-headed monster, and I think, honestly, that's the best way to put it. It couldn't really be more true. Connor Kuchera, Bobby Durkin, and Reed Bailey are really dominating this game. Their cuts are really proving to be a problem for Fordham. And, I mean, regardless of their defensive skill, just that sort of attack and height, I think, is definitely serving as one of the main problems for the Rams, unfortunately.
And during this first half, they actually went on a 14-2 run with Bailey actually scoring 11 of those 14 points for Davidson. There's been absolutely no answer for him this far. And as you mentioned, attacking the rim, getting to the rim, forcing fouls and 1 opportunities. Davidson's just coming in here like they're playing like they want to win, and Fordham is playing like it's a Saturday afternoon and they're a bit tired.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're discussing this now, but Fordham is realizing that they have to drive to the net. And if they are driving to the net, Davidson is not going to be able to stop them consistently. But definitely to your point before about having that attack and just the size of all these players, they are incredibly tall, is definitely serving as an obstacle. But something I'm curious about what you think. What is Fordham going to do right now? What is Coach Ergo, do we think, going to advise this team to do? Because it's tough. I mean, I had hope that maybe by the half they were going to cut the lead to single digits. But, I mean, unfortunately, that's not the case. I'm not really sure what to think next.
Well, you got Jackie Johnson going earlier in the game. He had 8 points to start within the first 10 minutes. He had the 2 3-pointers that you talked about, and he scored another time. But besides that, he's been silent. You got to get him going again, but you got to get more guys scoring on the Fordham team. See, what Davidson has here is they have 7 guys on the board compared to Fordham's 5. Jackie Johnson leading the way with 8 points, and Fordham is just not shooting the ball well, and this has been a trend that's been going on for a little bit with the Rams now. From 3-point, they're 3 for 11, 2 of those coming from Jackie Johnson. I don't know if they knocked down a 3 in the final 10 minutes. They got to go away from the 3-point shot and just trying to chuck them up there, I think. You got to get to the hoop. You got to try to create fouls. Just be aggressive. Get to the paint. Try to get the easy ones, and because it doesn't seem like anything from the field is going down for them. 10 for 31 so far from the rest of the field in total. They haven't gotten to the line much. They're 1 for 4 from the line, while Davidson is sitting at 5 for 5 from the free throw line. Fordham to me, this game looks like two different levels of aggressiveness. You have Davidson, who's playing like they are the better team in this matchup, playing like they want to get to the hoop every time, like they want to create some chaos. Where Fordham, I just feel like they almost look a little bit laid back today.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's tough. I think although there obviously is a struggle right now, we have to highlight Jackie Johnson has been doing a good job. He definitely is someone that, regardless of the atmosphere of the gym, wherever he is, he's someone we can rely on. I mean, he has been the leading scorer so far, and I think there's no doubt that he's going to, continue showing effort, trying to make threes, being this sort of dominant force. So on a positive note, I think that he is playing a good game.
Mm-hmm. I would love to see Jafeg Medor get going in the second half. So far in the first half, 0 for 4, 0 for 1 from 3. He's contributed 2 steals and a block, but aside from that, not really much he's done with his 13 minutes played so far. But an interesting one for me is Jameer Tripp came into the game. He played 10 minutes in that first half, and he scored 5 points. He got 3 rebounds, and he got an assist. I would like to see him get going a little bit more too. Get a little bit more run in the second half. Lou and Nick were talking about him and how he kind of tends to disappear once we get to district time in the A10, and he's a guy who's got a lot of length, guard skills, standing at 6'7". He's someone you'd like to see get going a little bit more because he can score from just about everywhere on the floor. And he needs to be able to use that ability a little bit more and get to the hoop. He's a big dude. Get to the hoop. Create some fouls. Just make the defense collapse so Fordham is not taking these threes where they're contested. They can get good open looks because so far it just seems like they're just forcing them up there trying to get this one a little bit closer.
No, I completely agree. I think we always, or maybe not always, but we do see concentrated aggressiveness from Tripp. And Lou and Nick were talking about this. He, can finish at the basket. He's 6'7", as you said, with guard skills. He's someone that I think we can't forget about, but we also do heavily rely on for the success of the Rams. So to your point, I completely agree. I'd like to see more from him, hopefully in this second half.
Definitely. Well, hopefully the Rams will get it going, but that'll do it for our one-on-one halftime report. Fordham trails Davidson 41-24 here at Rose Hill. I've been Zach Cordova alongside Mary Hawthorn, and the second half is coming right up with Nick Guzman and Lou Orlando on the call. Don't go anywhere.
Hey guys, it's John Mary Tripp from Fordham Men's Basketball. You can catch all of our games on 90.7 FM and the WFUV Sports YouTube page. And make sure to fill the hill this season as we celebrate 100 years in the Rose Hill Gym. WFUV is the home of Fordham basketball. Go Rams.
Back here live in the Rose Hill Gym. Nick Guzman here alongside Lou Orlando. Davidson with a 41-24 lead over Fordham at the halftime break. The Rams shooting just 32% from the field, struggling from both ends of the floor. Before we get into anything else, we'll send it over to the third member of our crew again, Annabelle Watson. Annabelle?
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Despite the score, Coach Urgo has been encouraging his team to stay positive, emphasizing his frequently used mantra of attitude. He told the bench that there's still a lot of game left to be played and obviously a lot of room for improvement as we head into the second half. Back to you, Nick.
Thanks, Annabelle. Definitely room for improvement for the Rams. It was bad, really, Lou, on both ends of the floor. And this Fordham team is in a position where we know what the defensive deficiencies are at this point of the season. We've mentioned how they rank bottom of the conference in pretty much every defensive metric. So you can't afford, if you're Fordham, to come out in the first half and have a shooting performance like they did that sees you down 41-24.
And it's been a worrying trend lately, I would say, against the last three games, Richmond, Duquesne, and now against Davidson. Fordham goes on scoreless droughts that are 3-4, bordering on 5 minutes long, and they don't have the defense to hang in those games when they go silent. There's so much pressure on this Fordham offense, which to its credit, on the season averaging 75 points per game. I do think part of that is because Fordham gets in holes and they have to move fast, and they get in situations where they need to score quickly. And listen, they have pretty good shot makers, but they don't have an offense that's going to be able to outscore the Daytons and the Davidsons of the world. You saw in the Dayton game a couple weeks ago, tied at 48 at halftime, but you don't have the consistency up and down the bench to shoot 40-50% for an entire game. And now, obviously, this defense has been much maligned. They're really struggling with Reed Bailey. They're really struggling with Connor Kuchera. And it makes sense. Again, those are awesome players. Those are some of the best players in the A-10. But when you have both sides not working, well, no duh, it's not going to go wait for you on the scoreboard.
We've seen just how lethal this Davidson offense can be. Reed Bailey was quiet early, Lou. He had 3 points in the first 10 minutes or so, and then finishes the half with 12 on 5 of 8 shooting, 2 rebounds as well, 11 points for Connor Kuchera. This is a Davidson team coming off back-to-back losses that has a really tough end to their season schedule-wise. A win here against Fordham would go a long way.
Yes, because for all these teams that are in the pack, and I don't consider Fordham to be in the pack, but everyone from, I would say, Dayton down to Davidson, maybe even Richmond, who's sneakily won 2 straight. A win completely changes your entire standings and your seeding. Again, a win here for Davidson can get them as high as 9, and then you have 3 games left to play where you can still have a little bit of motion up and down the standings. The middle of this A-10 is so tightly packed, it's probably not great for anyone that wants A-10 teams to get an at-large bid. I think the only ones that have a chance at this point are VCU and to a lesser extent George Mason, but in terms of bringing really fun, entertaining, tight basketball games in a standings that you have no idea who's going to be where, even with 2 weeks, 3 weeks left before the tournament starts. it doesn't get any thicker than this. It doesn't get any tighter than this.
The Wildcats do have probably as tough of a run-in to end this season as any team in this conference. They host St. Louis at home on Tuesday, followed by 2 games on the road against VCU and Loyola Chicago, 2 of the hardest places to play in this conference, and they finish at home against St. Bonaventure, who've had their struggles this year, but such a talented team. On any given night, they can come out and show why they were so successful earlier in the season.
Loyola Chicago does not get enough credit for how good of a team they are. They're the 3 seed right now. They beat Dayton by 1 last night.
Dismantled St. Louis last weekend.
Loyola Chicago, back-to-back Friday night games on ESPN2, and for good reason. The Gentile Arena is an electric factory. They play so well at home. They're awesome on the boards. I would say sneaky watch Loyola Chicago come tournament time. If they get into the NCAA tournament, I think they're another fun team that could have an upset.
So we're underway here in the second half. Davidson with the basketball. Locknane feeds down low for Bailey. Kick up high. Kachera, the swing for Durkin, far corner. And what a start to the half for Davidson as Bobby Durkin drains the 3, making a 20-point Wildcat lead.
And it was about time, right? He had missed 12 straight 3-pointers across the last 2 games. Finally gets one to roll in.
Dean up high for the Rams. Feeds Josh Rivera at the free throw line in the lane, spins to the corner. Jackie Johnson off the heel and out. Rebound Bobby Durkin. For Locknane. Up high, Reed Bailey. Feeds Kachera down low. What a finish over Jackie Johnson. Just bullied him for that basket.
Fordham, in order to defend against Davidson, they need to be able to have everyone on the floor guard anyone at any particular time because they're going to switch a ton. That's a mismatch Kachera exploits.
46-24 Davidson, a minute gone by in this second half. High screen from Timbila. Johnson has it up high against Kachera. Near wing Medor, thought about the 3. Jaffe still with it on the perimeter. He'll drive, gets inside. The hook shot with the right hand, no good. Locknane the rebound, pushing the pace for the Wildcats. Durkin on the near side wing. Fordham yet to score in this second half. Wide open up high is Bobby Durkin off the heel. But you can't leave him that wide open up high.
There's a bold choice by Ramad Dean.
Up high, this is Dean. Into the lane, got some space, couldn't finish with the underhand lay, and a rebound again for Durkin. The other way come the Wildcats. Durkin to the corner, wide open is Locknane, in and out on the 3. Bailey fighting for the board. Medor gets it. Back-to-back wide open looks won't go for the Wildcats. Medor all the way underneath, working against Durkin. Medor pivots, still in the lane, off the glass, no good. Rebound out of bounds on the baseline. Last touch off Reed Bailey. Fordham will keep it.
Fordham's still dead set on getting into the paint here. You might have to switch off that mindset. There's nothing open down there. You have players just fighting around in the paint, swiveling around in the pivot foot. There's no open lanes. Davidson has blocked up the paint.
Already 3 subs coming in for Keith Ergo. Zona, Riley, Tripp into the game. Timbila, Johnson, and Dean are out. Zona up high. Handoff on the near wing for Medor. Fakes the 3 to the corner for Tripp. Tripp will step back. That triple is short. Locknane the rebound. Tripp stole it right back. Underneath, Jameer Tripp gets the finish. Good hustle from Jameer Tripp. And Fordham on the board in the second half. 46-26 Wildcats, 17:30 to go in the second half. Locknane straight away for Hunter Adam against Jaffe Medor. Handoff on the far wing for Connor Kachera. Kachera driving baseline with the left hand, couldn't get it to go. Kept alive by Durkin. Up high, Locknane will pop the triple off front rim. Matt Zona secures the board. Riley, cross court to Jaffe Medor, right in front of the Fordham bench. Feeds the post for Rivera. He spins down low to the near corner. Zona swings up high for Riley. All the way around to Medor. He'll drive at the free throw line. Medor to the far corner. Rivera will step back from 3. Too strong. Connor Kachera the rebound. Nothing falling for the Rams, shooting under 29% from the field in this game.
I think Zona and Riley both passed up open looks.
Fordham back in their 3-2 zone on defense. Bailey feeds the corner for Locknane. Up high, Kachera. Durkin swings out to the far side for Adam. Adam trying to feed Bailey in the post, stolen away by Zona. Tripp into the front court for the Rams on the far side. Riley swings to Jaffe Medor. High screen from Zona. Medor near wing. Straightaway Zona fakes the three, lost the handle as he drove, and that's going to be a turnover on Matt Zona.
The offense is starting to look a little more engaged, but it's still nowhere close to where it needs to be to come out in this first half. Now, they've switched back to the 3-2. I think the 3-2 works when it catches Davidson off guard, but now they know they've seen 2 or 3 sets against it. And eventually you worry about Reed Bailey beating them in the middle of the paint. They're standing on the free throw line.
That's how they did it back on January 11th, was Bailey being the man in the middle. Durkin in the far corner, inside for Laputte. Great find, and Zach Laputte with the tough finish. 48-26 Davidson, 15:50 to go second half. 22-point lead for the Wildcats. Jameer Tripp holds up high for the Rams. For Zona, Johnson near wing. He'll launch the three and bury it.
They're going to need a lot of those. I don't be surprised if every play that gets drawn up over the next few sequences has a primary three-point option.
48-29 Davidson, 15:30 to go second half. Fordham back in that 3-2 zone. They feed Bailey inside on the far wing. That's a three. No good from Zach Laputte. Johnson for Riley on the far side. Riley at the free throw line. Kicks out to the wing for Tripp. Straight away for Jackie Johnson at the M of the stripped Fordham logo. Johnson drives right, kicks to the corner. Riley's three rattles home. Back-to-back made triples for the Rams. Back within 16 with 15 minutes to go in the second half.
Davidson second to last in the conference in defending the three-point line. There are openings there.
Backdoor cut from Durkin, takes the contact, gets the roll. Davidson so active with those backdoor cuts. That's something they do so well. And Bobby Durkin will go to the free throw line for one more.
And how about Durkin not just getting there, but once he gets there, 2 feet on the ground, plants, and hesitates just long enough to draw the foul and get the three-point play opportunity.
So we've reached our under 16 media timeout with 14:54 to go in the second half. The score, Davidson 50, Fordham 32. You're listening to Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports.
Hey guys, Grace McCarran here with Jack Warner.
And we're two of your hosts for Nosebleeds, WFUV's one and only baseball podcast.
We'll keep you in the loop on all tri-state news with the Yankees and Mets,
as well as the biggest headlines from around the MLB.
Catch weekly episodes of Nosebleeds on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Take a trip around the bases with Nosebleeds on WFUV Sports.
Welcome back inside the Rose Hill Gym. Davidson 50, Fordham 32 with 14:54 to go in the second half. This is Nick Guzman here alongside Lou Orlando. And Lou, on that last sequence, Bobby Durkin with the backdoor cut, able to get some space and get the and one. That's something this Davidson team does so much on offense. The cutting really means you can never relax on defense, and it's something in contrast that Fordham doesn't really do a lot of on the offensive end.
We'll start on the Davidson side. Said it on practice yesterday, the two things Keith Orgo said about this Davidson offense, he said they're so disciplined, and he said they don't stop moving, and he emphasized it just like that. He's absolutely right. You watch this Davidson offense, there's so much motion, there's so much cutting, there's a lot of cutting to the basket, but there's also off-ball screens, and it's, I think, a really exciting offense. It's really tough to get around from the defense perspective, and you're right, Fordham really doesn't have a lot of action, a lot of motion on their offensive end. It's something I've been very critical of this year, is I don't think they challenge opposing defenses at all. I think they allow defenses to be very stagnant, sit in their sets. They don't really give them too many screens outside of the perimeter. Yes, they do screens around the arc to try and open up three-pointers, but there's not enough screens through the paint to try and get openings and get open men on swings and whatnot. There's not a lot of cutting to the basket. For whatever reason, it's just not part of their philosophy. I think it should be.
Bobby Durkin at the free throw line trying to complete the three-point play. I mean, for a defensive team like Fordham, it's a nightmare trying to contend with all that action, and no one stops moving. Tripp inbounds here to Medor as Bobby Durkin drains the free throw. It's 51-32 Davidson with 14:50 to go in the second half. Jackie Johnson up high for the Rams. Handoff for Matt Zona with his near side wing for Jaffe Medor. Medor flips down low for Jameer Tripp. At the right block, Tripp spins. Lost his dribble. Tripp kicks out to the perimeter for Medor on the near wing. 9 seconds to shoot. Medor from the free throw line, no good. It's loose. Riley on the far side will pop the three as Tripp kept that play alive by diving to the ground. Riley's three no good. LaPut the other way for Davidson. Durkin inside for Bailey. Feed looking inside for Loughnane, hit off the rim. A weird carom there. It comes into Fordham possession. Johnson, lefty floater in the lane the other way, gets it to go off front rim. 51-34 Davidson.
It won't matter, I don't think. It won't matter if Fordham doesn't close this gap. I don't think Davidson looked as sharp offensively in this second half, especially after the first under 16.
Inside for Bailey, Tripp on him. Bailey lost his dribble. Trying to find Kuchera. They go to the ground with it. And it's going to be a foul called on Matt Zona as him and Kuchera went to the floor for the basketball.
Fordham got a little overzealous there, but I will say, and I'll give them credit, they're doing a much better job of forcing turnovers against a team that does not turn the ball over at all. Davidson is one of the best teams in the conference at protecting the ball. They're the leader in assist-to-turnover ratio. Fordham's created a lot of loose balls last 8 minutes of game time.
Durkin in for Bailey, driving baseline, took a bump from Zona. Shot went in and out of bounds into a cheerleader's lap on the baseline. Fordham basketball. Lou, a pretty decent crowd here at the Rose Hill Gym this afternoon. The student section is not completely full, but the section opposite to our right is almost completely packed.
Yeah, I believe it's a young alumni event. This is the most crowded we've seen the Rose Hill Gym probably since the UMass game. Unfortunately, this game's not close, so you can't really feel it.
Johnson inside, stripped away by Joseph and stolen away by Davidson. Loughnane for LaPut. On this near wing, into the corner for Durkin, goes behind the back on Rivera, now settles down on the perimeter. Bailey up high, spinning on Zona. Floater with the right hand is pure. Reed Bailey is automatic from those positions. Fordham back the other way through Josh Rivera. And Jackie Johnson at the logo for Jameer Tripp. It's 53-34 Wildcats. 13 minutes to go second half. On the far wing, Jameer Tripp driving down low on Bailey. Gets inside, took a bump, foul on the floor before Jameer could get his shot up. And Fordham will inbound.
I think Jameer Tripp continues to be a bright spot for this Fordham team. And who knows if it will impact the final result of this game. I don't even think that his stat line necessarily blows you away. To me, it's the effort and the intensity he has played with every single time that he's out there.
And it's been something we have not seen throughout most of this conference season. We saw it in that stretch in non-con in December, that 5-game winning streak. But since then, it's been a rough go for Jameer Tripp. Josh Rivera's entry pass hit off the rim. It was intended for Abdu Timbila, taken away by Davidson. And Bobby Durkin has it up high for the Wildcats in the front court for Loughnane near wing. Up high, this is Hurlbert. Again to the near side wing. Loughnane, straight away Durkin. Timbila on him. LaPut on the far wing with Tripp watching him. LaPut into the lane, leans in, got to the basket, toilet bowling around and out, but the putback is tipped in by Joe Hurlbert. Caught the Fordham defense napping as that ball spun around and around on the rim. And Hurlbert with the tip. 55-34 Davidson. A foul on the screen against Josh Rivera. Another turnover on the Rams with 12-12 to go in the second half. It's Davidson by 21.
Fordham just isn't playing anywhere near a level that they would need to claw back into this game. They make a positive play once every 3 times out there. That's not nearly enough.
Loughnane on this near side wing. Abdu Timbila watching him. The far wing, Durkin, his 3 over Dean off front rim. Timbila secures the board. Ahead for Jaffe Medor. Medor crossover, step back from 3. That's beautiful from Jaffe Medor. He's finally on the board. His first points of the afternoon. He was 0 of 7 before that make. Loughnane in the front court for Davidson. Swung to his near wing. LaPut will fire off the heel and out. Durkin flies in for the offensive board, and he's wide open in the lane to finish with the right hand. the seas parted there for Bobby Durkin.
Davidson is putting Fordham to school here in terms of the rebound battle, the crash in the offensive glass. Fordham just not tagging every man the way they need to.
Dean up high for Tripp. Thought about the three on the near wing. Now he'll fire. Jameer Tripp gets it to go. Jameer Tripp, it's been a positive effort from him. 10 points. If you're looking for a bright spot with Fordham down 17, I think Jameer Tripp has to be it. Bobby Durkin with it for Davidson the other way. Rivera tried to get a hand on it. Backdoor cut from Joseph. Went for the highlight reel slam. He's fouled at the rim, and Manny Joseph is down, writhing in pain.
I think he's grabbing, I think that's the wrist on the right hand. He took a lot of contact going up there.
Manny Joseph is a guy, freshman from London, England, who only played 5 games in non-conference, but of late, he's become a real rotation piece for this Davidson team. He's played at least 10 minutes in the last 6 games, had a career-high 12 points last time out, and a career-high minutes, 26 against Loyola Chicago.
It was the bench that kept Davidson in that game against Loyola Chicago. You had a really bad game from Bobby Durkin, season-low 2 points, 1 of 13 from the field. You know, Bailey does his thing, gets a double-double, but they needed help outside of Bailey, and they got it from Hunter Adam and Manny Joseph. So you look at a 6'7" forward that has his speed and his athleticism, and you go, that's a guy I could see turning into a regular starter in the A-10.
It's 57-40 Davidson, 10:51 to go in the second half. We've reached our under 12 media timeout. We'll send it back to our Rose Hill studios for the one-on-one scoreboard with Mary Hawthorn.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
Checking back in on the A-10 women, the Rams are trailing the Flyers 56-59 with 2 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. A little more women's college basketball, the Yukon Huskies will face the Butler Bulldogs in Princeton, New Jersey today at 4 p.m. Finally, Kansas will battle Kansas State at the Wildcats Bramlage Coliseum tonight at 5. Circling back to A-10 men's hoops, Rhode Island is trailing St. Louis at home 20-30 with a little over 5 minutes left of the first half. St. Joe's defeated Richmond with a final score of 78-62. On the ice, the Wild are trailing the Red Wings 2-3 and the Flyers are leading 5-3 against the Oilers. The Rangers will soon take the ice against the Buffalo Sabres at 5:30 p.m. With your scoreboard updates, I'm Mary Hawthorn.
Thanks, Mary. With 10:51 to go in the second half, the score Davidson 57, Fordham 40. And for Fordham, I think, as I mentioned before, if you're looking for a bright spot, I think it has to be the play of Jameer Tripp. 10 points on 4 of 8 shooting, but it seems like every time he gets the ball, he almost has the mindset that we've seen Josh Rivera have recently, where it's, I have the ability to score, I have the ability to attack the rim, so every time I get the chance to do that, I'm gonna. We've seen a timid Jameer Tripp for most of Atlantic 10 play, but this afternoon he's been attacking the rim.
And it's frustrating because Jameer Tripp was far and away their second best player in the non-conference portion of this schedule. He was in the starting lineup. At one point, Keith Ergo said, I don't foresee him coming out of the starting lineup. It's now been 11 straight games of him out of the starting lineup. And they're going to need to fill, forget about the starting lineup. If Josh Rivera is in the starting lineup, Fordham needs someone that can come off the bench and provide that offensive spark. That should be and can be Jameer Tripp, and you're seeing him play finally to the level many expected when it felt like early on this year he had taken the leap, he had taken that sophomore leap and become a legit guy to build around.
Good news, Manny Joseph seems to be okay after that rough fall. His first free throw goes in and out. Still one more attempt to come from Joseph. 57-40 Davidson, 10:51 to go in the second half, make it 58-40 as Joseph gets the roll on his second free throw. Jaffe Mador into the front court for the Rams. Out to the far wing for Zach Riley. Riley, Rivera, Dean, Timbila, Mador, the 5 for your Rams. Rivera on this near wing. Up high for Jaffe Mador. Screen from Dean. Mador on the far wing will launch the deep 3. No good. Dean kept it alive and hoists it to the perimeter for Josh Rivera as he tumbles out of bounds. Rivera gets to the lane. High off the glass, no good. but Josh Rivera draws the foul and will go to the free throw line.
Here's your last semblance of hope. You're down 18, there's 10:21 to go. Whatever run you're trying to go on has to happen over the next 4 or 5 minutes.
It's Josh Rivera at the free throw line. Fordham just 1 of 4 from the strike this afternoon. Josh has had his free throw struggles throughout his career, as we know. 54% on the year, but that one looks perfect as he gets it to go.
It might sound like we're being soft when we throw this stat here, but I do think he's improved in shooting 64% from the line going back to December. For a guy that struggled to be anywhere near 50% all of his career, that's a stat that matters.
Second free throw from Rivera is good. He gets the roll. A 2-for-2 trip from Josh Rivera. It's 58-42 Davidson. Fordham in a full court press here, trying to force a turnover. They go to the ground with it, and that's going to be a jump ball forced by Jaffe Mador, just clawing it out of the hands of Connor Kuchera.
It's plays like that that make it so frustrating that Fordham's not better defensively, because when they press, they can force turnovers. They have athleticism. When they play with intensity, they're a really fun team to watch. They just don't do it enough.
Possession arrow favors the Rams. Mador inbounds underneath to Josh Rivera. Rivera to the lane, lost the handle. Will kick back out up top for Riley. To the far wing for Jaffe Mador. Mador attacking inside, high off the glass, gets it to go, and the foul. Finally something for this gym to cheer about. Rivera the free throws, then the jump ball, and then Jaffe Mador the and one chance.
And you think about the nearly 5-minute scoring drought that Fordham went on offensively. You think Jaffe Mador being scoreless had anything to do with it, and not always being in the game? You've heard Coach Urgo say it. He's the key to this offense. He's the man that runs the offense. And he's just been so solid and consistent in A-10 play.
The free throw from Mador is good. He completes the three-point play. It's 58-45 Davidson. Fordham have cut this thing down to 13 with 10:06 to go in the second half. Mador the steal, but Kuchera gets it right back as Jaffe tried to keep it alive on the baseline. The pressure continues. Durkin on the far side, double teamed by Mador and Riley. Finally, the Wildcats able to cross the timeline. Kuchera has it at the logo. Against Riley, Kuchera barrels into him and finishes at the rim. Connor Kuchera, so good using that body.
All the momentum Fordham's way, and how about Kuchera? Goes right to the paint, body strong to the rim. He's just so solid.
60-45 Davidson, 9:30 to go, second half. Zach Riley on the far wing. Straight away now, Jaffe Mador. High screen from Timbila. Mador against Joseph, stolen away by Manny Joseph. Laput the other way against Rivera. Laput is fouled hard, and Zach Laput will go to the free throw line.
It's a very smart play by Zach Laput. If he just puts that one straight up, no hesitation, there's a chance Josh Rivera rises up, blocks it off the backboard. Instead, just a little bit of hesitation, gets Rivera in the air, and then you're done. If you're in the air and he's still got the ball 2 feet on the ground, you're done. That's a foul.
The steal from Joseph. Laput the opportunity the other way, and now he's at the free throw line. 6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists for Laput so far in this one. And he gets the first free throw to go. Laput the odd man out in that starting lineup after Hunter Adam got the nod this afternoon. It was Sean Logan earlier this season who was the starter. Laput came in after he got hurt, and for the first time in a while, Laput not in the starting lineup, but he's responded well with a solid contribution.
Again, it sounds like we talked to the coaches. It was just a coaching decision. The fit of Hunter Adam, who's been a pest for the Fordham Rams in years past, in games past. But Zach Laput's still going to play a big role in this team down the stretch.
Both free throws good from Laput. 62-45 Davidson. 9:12 to go second half. Dean top of the key. Handoff for Jackie Johnson. Attacking left. Johnson, lefty floater, gets it to go. 62-47 Davidson.
I'll tell you what, it does sting, though. That's a great shot by Johnson. That Fordham goes in that run. Davidson gets it right back.
Bailey, handoff for Durkin. Up high again, this is Bailey attacking in the paint against Timbila. Bailey spins with the right hand up and in from Reed Bailey.
And you can tell Abdu Timbila afraid to foul. He doesn't even rise up to contest that shot. And that's just unfortunately too easy for a player the ilk of Reed Bailey.
And with how high Bailey gets that release off, it seems like you need to jump if you want to contest it.
It doesn't matter if your body's there. You don't have a hand in the face, you're not contesting Reed Bailey.
This is Mador near wing, driving towards the paint. foul on the floor by Manny Joseph as Jaffe made his move. It's 64-47 Davidson with 8:27 to go in the second half. Joseph has been a spark plug, though, for Davidson off the bench for second game in a row.
It's a Davidson team that sneakily has been very solid off the bench.
Tripp off the inbound, gets it to Dean. He finishes over Durkin and the foul. Strong move from Ahmad Dean. Go to the free throw line and try to cut this thing back down to 14.
I'll say this, right? We talked to Coach Ergo about that second half collapse he called against Duquesne. They came out flat. They lose by 9 in the second half. And he said he liked the energy. I'm not so sure about that. I love the energy in this second half. You come into it a 17-point hole. Around the 10-minute mark, you turn things on, you press, and you don't give up on a game that it's going to be really tough to win. That's, if I'm Coach Ergo, I love that.
Dean completes the three-point play. That makes it 64-50 Davidson, 8:25 to go second half. Fordham still in their full court pressure. Inbound to Locknane. Dean and Johnson on him. Locknane back to Durkin. Pass over Medor into the front court to Kuchera. And Davidson advance the basketball against the press. Kuchera drives to the lane on Tripp with the right hand. Couldn't get it to go. Rebound Dean. Johnson pushing the pace for Fordham. Johnson driving left again. Feeds the paint for Timbila against Bailey. Abdu goes to work on the offensive end. 64-52, the Rams within 12, under 8 to go second half.
You can start to feel the energy turn here. That's a big-time bucket by Timbila.
Durkin inbounds. I believe it's going to be a timeout taken by Matt McKillop. They want to talk things over. That Fordham press has caused a lot of problems for the Wildcats.
Absolutely. I love the intensity that you're seeing from the Fordham Rams right now. They have turned, I don't want to say the game on its head because they're still trailing by 12, but they have completely changed the energy in this game. We went into halftime. Let's just be straight up. The feeling in this building is dead. They're down 17, and you go, it's another loss in a season that's been very tough for the Rams. They have stretches like this, and that's what makes this season so frustrating, is for 5 minutes, for 7 minutes, for 8 minutes, they will put together a series of basketball plays that make you go, all right, this team might not be a number 1 seed. I think they're better than the worst team in the A-10. Unfortunately, they keep using the phrase 40 minutes of Fordham basketball. Right now, they've probably played about, in this half, 6-7 really good minutes of Fordham basketball. It hasn't been the whole half, and that's the frustration with the Fordham Rams. They show spurts, they show glimpses where you see the Coach Ergo style that won 25 games in this building. It's so tough, and I understand it's so tough to put it together for 40 full minutes. Seeing the spurts is almost worse than not seeing them at all. It gives you hope.
40 minutes is hope kills you. 40 minutes is a lot to ask for in terms of wanting to play that type of Fordham basketball. Coach Ergo's, said recently he'd settle for 32 minutes of solid Fordham basketball on the defensive end, and honestly, so would I. It's Davidson with the 64-52 lead over the Rams with 7:51 to go in the second half. It's been much better offensively for Fordham in this half, seemed to be more decisive going to the lane, and finally some of these shots that were rolling out in the first half are finally starting to go down.
They're making really tough shots. There's more openings around 3-point than I think there were down the stretch in the first half, and we've seen Fordham be a bit more successful from 3, 4 for 9 in this second half. They're also making tough shots inside. That Jaffe Medor shot where he banked it in, drew the foul. It's a really tough shot. How about Abdu? Shadowed by Reed Bailey in the paint, turns around and uses his strength. Abdu Timbila, you want to talk about frustrating. He's been so frustrating this year because he's been inconsistent, and you feel like he's taken a step back from what you saw the last 2 years. I think he's coming off one of his worst games of the season against Duquesne. The 3 turnovers. He was not strong in the paint at all against a team that he could have had some success against. Every once in a while, Abdu Timbila, and I think he's been very engaged in this game. He's been excellent rebounding. He was strong with the post move in the paint. I don't think he's aggressive enough when he gets the ball inside because he's been shooting at a 67% clip the last 8 games now. He's been amazingly efficient, and he's a frustrating player because he'll make turnovers, he'll make poor decisions sometimes, but man, can he change a game energy-wise.
Durkin looking at inbound underneath. Fordham still in their press, deflected away by Tripp onto the baseline. Davidson will keep it. And that will take us to our under 8 media timeout. It's Davidson 64, Fordham 52 with 7:50 to go in the second half. You're listening to Fordham men's basketball on WFUV Sports.
Hi, my name is Ryan Rucco, WFUV class of 2008. WFUV is your home for all things Fordham athletics, with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to our Saturday show, One-on-One. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV Sports.
Back here inside the Rose Hill Gym, Davidson 64, Fordham 52 with 7:50 to go in the second half. This is Nick Guzman here alongside Lou Orlando, and we'll send it over again to the third member of our crew. It's Annabelle Watson. Annabelle, what do you got for us?
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Ergo spent a long time speaking to Jackie Johnson earlier in the half. Johnson, as we know, has been Fordham's top scorer in this game. Overall, this Fordham bench seems a lot more energized in the second half. It's very evident in the score as Fordham starts to somewhat narrow the gap between them and Davidson. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Annabelle. And you can see that energy coming through on the court as well in that press. Fordham looked in that first half at times really disengaged on the defensive end of the floor, but I think having to be in that full court press really forces everyone to completely lock in.
The press doesn't look right. It's the press forces. You can't play the press lackadaisically.
Yes.
And the whole point of the press is to overwhelm the other team. If you watch teams when they run the press and the guys at the top of the press, which for them a lot of times is Jaffe Medor, Josh Rivera, Jackie Johnson, the way they chop their feet, they almost get so frantic in an effort to make the other team frantic. When a game gets frantic, it's exciting, it's energetic, and it gets the crowd excited. Even this Fordham crowd that, for being real, if you take the pulse of this team, I don't know how many people here expect Fordham to come away with a win in this game. But you see a press, you see turnovers, you see momentum, you see the vibe shift, and you can't help but get into the game yourself.
Fordham 52, Davidson 64, a 12-point lead for the Wildcats, 7:50 to go in the second half. Davidson will inbound in the backcourt. Fordham will surely continue that full court pressure coming out of this media timeout.
Nick, I don't want to sound crazy. You can overcome a 12-point deficit with 7:50 left. 7:50.
7:50.
In the words of Chaz McAdams, that's an eternity in college basketball.
Especially when in the second half the shot's not quite falling at the same rate for Davidson. Bailey double team in the corner, able to get it to Kachera, and Johnson fouled him. They got Bailey pinned in the corner with Timbila and Dean applying the pressure.
Ergo not thrilled. I think he wanted Jackie Johnson to be a little bit more up to start that play. Johnson has to come from behind to try and knock that ball away, and he has to go through a body to do that, and that's the foul. Richmond one away from being in the bonus. Or Davidson, sorry.
Durkin will inbound underneath again. Fordham continues that pressure. Durkin into Locknane. Johnson on him. Back to Durkin. The long pass up ahead. Wide open is Laputte. Timbila got back. Laputte finishes anyway. The long pass up ahead, able to break that press.
There's really strong vision there.
66-52 Davidson. 7:30 to go, second half. Jaffe Medor up high for the Rams. For Jackie Johnson on this near wing. A screen from Timbila. Johnson moving left, will drive to the lane, takes a bump and finishes at the rim with the left hand. Jackie Johnson so good when he's driving to his favorite left side.
It's spectacular what Medor and Johnson are able to do, because I'll reiterate something we said earlier in this broadcast. There is not a lot of motion in this Fordham offense. It's very stagnant. Get into their positions. They don't move a ton. You get a screen from one of your bigs, and then it's, all right, one of your guards, go make a play. To their credit, Medor and Johnson have split defenders and made plays and made tough shots. That's not an easy thing to do.
17 points now for Jackie Johnson on 7 of 13 shooting, 3 of 6 from deep, also 4 boards and 2 assists as Johnson completes the three-point play. Davidson 66, Fordham 55, 7:17 to go second half. Fordham right back in to their full court press. Durkin moving along the baseline, looking for an option. Medor got the steal. Last touch off of Davidson. It went off Kuchera last as the ball went out of bounds on the baseline. Jaffe Medor forces the turnover, and Fordham will inbound underneath.
You can't say enough about how valuable Jaffe Medor is as an all-around player. I think Jaffe Medor is making this press so dangerous right now. It's him.
Tripp to Johnson. The three on the move. Too strong. That would have got this gym hopping, and that's going to be a foul called underneath as Jameer Tripp fought for the rebound. Foul goes against Fordham, I believe.
Yes. Fine line between jump ball and foul. I think that's probably just on the side of the line that you'd say that's a foul. It was close, though. Here's the problem. Davidson in the bonus, 7 minutes and 11 seconds still to go here. Now, the interesting thing is, Reed Bailey has 4 fouls. That is not in the game right now.
That is very interesting, the 4 fouls for Bailey. He's Davidson's leading scorer with 16 points. It's a one-on-one chance for Bobby Durkin with Davidson in the bonus, and he connects on the first free throw attempt. How about a double-double for Bobby Durkin with 13 points and 10 rebounds?
That's every member of the Big Three can go out there and get you a double-double, and that's what makes them so dangerous. And the other thing dangerous about fouling Davidson is they are third best in the conference of free throw shooting. Not a team you want to send to the line.
Durkin connects on both free throws, make it 68-55 Davidson. 7 minutes to go, second half. Tripp up high, crossover in the lane. Tripp takes the bump and finishes again. Jameer Tripp, so decisive as he goes to the rim in this game. 68-57 Davidson. Again, the full court press. LaPut in the backcourt, watched by Johnson and Dean. Up ahead for Loughnane, a 3-on-2 the other way for Davidson. Kuchera up high for Loughnane, he'll settle things down. Out to the far wing, Durkin. High screen from Adam. Out to the far wing, Kuchera. LaPut against Timbila, 8 on the shot clock. LaPut got Timbila in the air, but couldn't finish on the step through. Timbila the rebound, Medor the other way for Fordham. And it's going to be a foul on Jackie Johnson off ball.
Oh, Ergo hates the call.
It happened right in front of the Fordham bench. It's going to be a foul on Ramad Dean, actually. It was Johnson just who was upset with the officiating. But it's Ramad Dean who commits the foul off ball.
It's such a big swing where... Hold on a second here. Okay, they're going to make them take it out.
And Davidson will inbound. I think it's an offensive foul on the Rams, so no free throws. Durkin will inbound on the baseline, needs an option in for LaPut. Took a bump from Medor, fights through as Jaffe tries to grab it. LaPut up ahead to Loughnane, just able to gather across the timeline, keeping it inbounds. LaPut to Kuchera on this near wing, into the paint against Dean. Kuchera spins, a wild shot with the left hand, but Ramad Dean bumped him, and there's 2 shots coming for Connor Kuchera.
It's going to be the third on Dean. You got 4 players now that are in, I guess, semi-foul trouble. It's going to be Dean, Timbila, Rivera, and Matt Zona. Something to keep an eye on. Again, 6:04 left in this game.
2 shots coming for Kuchera. It's 4 fouls for Reed Bailey, and also for Joe Hurlburt, who's the other big guy at 6'11". This is a small Davidson lineup out there right now. Free throw good from Kuchera.
And you wonder if part of that is, well, Davidson doesn't necessarily need to get in a ton of half-court sets here. They need to break the press. And who do you want out there? Well, it helps to have a guy like Reed Bailey who plays like a guard at 6'10". You'd like to have him out there, but some of the other more traditional bigs are not going to excel when you start pressing this significantly.
Second free throw from Kuchera, in and out. So he goes 1 for 2 from the line, 69-57 Davidson. Under 6 to go in the second half. Jameer Tripp up high. Tripp again looking to attack. He does on LaPut, spins in the lane, flips it up and gets the roll off front rim. Jameer Tripp, another strong move. It's a 10-point game. 5:43 to go second half. Inbound to LaPut. Medor went for the steal and missed. Ahead for Kuchera. Pressured from behind by Rivera. LaPut across the timeline.
Davidson's really struggling with this press. They're looking dangerous.
Straight away, Adam out to the far wing. Loughnane, the corner. Kuchera on this near side. Driving on Tripp. Kuchera with the left hand. Scoop layup wouldn't go. Fordham out of bounds on the baseline. Last touch off Davidson. Fordham basketball. Another stop on the defensive end.
Fordham has really tightened their game up on the defensive end. I think part of this is Reed Bailey's not out there. He is a game breaker. But take advantage, right? You got Reed Bailey into foul trouble. You planted Reed Bailey on the bench, and now you get to reap the benefits of a little bit of an easier look defensively. Still not easy. Kuchera and Durkin are both out there. So that's a lot of credit to what Fordham has done defensively in this half. And then offensively, shooting 56.5% in the second half. With the looks that they're getting, almost all these buckets inside are heavily contested.
69-59 Davidson, 5:17 to go in the second half. Fordham trying to claw their way back. A 41-24 halftime deficit. Johnson attacks with the left hand, gets it to go again. It's an 8-point game. 69-61 in favor of the Wildcats. Timeout called with 5:05 to go in the second half. It's a timeout for Keith Ergo.
This is remarkable. And it's interesting by Keith Ergo to call the timeout. It feels like momentum's firmly on their side, and when you're rolling like this, you never want the clock to stop. But I know he's trying to get some different changes here with the lineup and whatnot. He put Zona in a little bit earlier.
It's an interesting decision considering.
We'll see if it works out.
Davidson now with an opportunity, maybe if they want to get Reed Bailey back in the game playing with 4 fouls, they could do that now. With 5:05 to go in the second half. It'll be interesting to see how long the Wildcats are willing to wait without their star.
It's you're already not playing with him. Although I wonder if they're waiting until this game. It's still an 8-point lead. You have to think maybe they're saving him for if this deficit falls to 5, and you need Reed Bailey down the stretch, because if this game comes down to one possession, Davidson needs to make a shot to clinch the game. You want to have Reed Bailey as an option because he can be double teamed, hand in his face, and still make the shot. There's really no one else in this lineup. Durkin and Kuchera make tough shots. There's no one else that has the offensive firepower that Reed Bailey does. That I think McKillop's going to gamble, and we don't see Bailey out here out of the timeout. I think the smart move is to gamble, keep him on the bench until you absolutely need him. You can't afford to have him foul out and then not have him as an option entirely.
Davidson to inbound in the backcourt.
Changed up their press break a little bit.
The players all lined up in a straight line from half court to the three-point line as Durkin will inbound. Kuchera makes his break, inbound to him, back to Durkin, up ahead for Loughnane, and just like that, the Wildcats break the press.
I think they drew that up in the timeout.
Most
That's
definitely.
The risk of calling the timeout.
Kuchera up high for Davidson. Under 5 to go in the second half. They lead Fordham by 8. LaPut up high, driving on Medor. LaPut looked like he traveled. That's what Keith Ergo's signaling. LaPut, wild shot, wouldn't go. Zona the rebound. Back the other way comes Johnson. Johnson driving left, again with the left hand, took a bump, and he'll go to the free throw line. 2 shots coming for Jackie Johnson. This run just keeps on going for the Rams.
We said it at about 10:21 in the second half. They needed to go on a run and claw into this deficit. They have. 2 free throws, you got a chance to cut it to 6, and the under 4 media timeout has not happened yet. This is a remarkable turnaround by the Fordham Rams.
Fordham outscoring Davidson 37-28 in the second half. Jackie Johnson at the free throw line for 2 big free throws, and the first one is perfect.
And he has not necessarily been money from the line all year long, and even still in the year, 76%. That number was closer to 70 around the start of conference play. He's really turned it on of late.
Fordham doing all their damage inside at the basket. They get 21 points now for Jackie Johnson, and it'll stay at 21 as the second free throw rolls out. 69-62 Davidson, 4:30 to go second half. Reed Bailey back in the game for the Wildcats. Zona watching him for Loughnane, swung to Durkin on the far side. Medor the steal! Trip ahead for Medor, 2-on-1, Medor the lob! Rivera missed the open layup at the rim! that seemed like it was begging for an alley-oop. And Josh Rivera misses from point-blank range. It remains a 7-point Davidson lead.
Feed was just a little too far back for Rivera to be able to slam it in. That's a bad, bad missed chance.
Bailey for Kuchera straight away. Durkin's three is short. It comes right back to Bobby Durkin. He'll try again. Again, it's short. Trip the rebound. 3:50 to go, second half. Davidson 69, Fordham 62. Jaffe Medor looking to attack. He turned the ball over. Went right into Durkin and Kuchera. They steal it away. Kuchera into the front court for Davidson. Medor pressuring him. Double teamed up high. Into the corner. Locknane. He's double teamed as well. Zona and Tripp on the far side. Locknane, what's the call? Got to make a decision here. They're going to give the ball to Davidson, I believe, on the baseline.
Johnson wants to review that one. That was really confusing. They get a trap in the corner there. It really looked like they forced the turnover. But my goodness, two potentially crucial errors on the Fordham offensive end. You get the steal. It's Medor. How many times have we seen Medor lob it up to Rivera for the slam? This place would have gone nuts. The lob's too far back, and the layup rolls out. Durkin gets two wide open threes. It's a dagger. It's a gut punch if he nails them. He misses both. And then Medor, for no reason at all, really tries to push through two defenders, and that's an easy steal for them.
So at the under 4 media timeout with 3:27 to go in the second half, the score Davidson 69, Fordham 62. We'll send it back to our Rose Hill studios for the one-on-one scoreboard with Mary Hawthorn.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
Wrapping up things here with your final update of the afternoon, Rhode Island men's basketball trails behind St. Louis with a halftime score of 32-38. The Fordham women's basketball team dropped this afternoon's close game to Dayton, 57-62. In the NHL, the Minnesota Wild defeat the Red Wings 4-3, and the Philadelphia Flyers defeat the Edmonton Oilers 6-3. Later tonight, the Hurricanes face the Maple Leafs, the Ducks face the Bruins, and the Jets face the Blues, all at 7 p.m. With your scoreboard updates, I'm Mary Hawthorn.
Thanks, Mary. Back here inside the Rose Hill Gym. Nick Guzman alongside Lou Orlando. Davidson 69, Fordham 62 with 3:27 to go in the second half. Fordham outscoring Davidson 38-28 in this second half to make this push. Lou, think about this last sequence. Fordham getting some great stops on the defensive end, but on offense can't convert the Rivera opportunity from point-blank range, and then Medor turning the ball over. What do the Rams need to do in these last 3.5 minutes to close this 7-point deficit?
Well, you need to maintain the defensive intensity. You've done a couple really strong things. You've forced Davidson into 10 turnovers. They lead the A-10 with 9.5 turnovers a game. This is a team that does not turn over the ball at all. You're forcing them to be uncomfortable. Most of the turnovers have happened in this 10-minute stretch here. Not even 10 minutes, since the 10-minute mark in the second half. So you're making them uncomfortable. You're forcing turnovers. You need to keep getting stops and get the rebounds. Remember, Reed Bailey's in this game now. That's going to make things exponentially more difficult for you on the defensive end. And offensively, you can't have missed opportunities like what you had with the missed Medor-Rivera connection. The easy shots, the easy points need to be easy, and they need to happen.
Davidson will inbound underneath in the front court. 14 on the shot clock for them. Fordham's 5, Rivera, Johnson, Tripp, Zona, and Medor. It's into Reed Bailey on the perimeter. Out to the far wing for Durkin. Inside for Bailey. He's double-teamed. He lost it. Last touch off the Rams, it's deemed. Out of bounds on the baseline. Davidson will keep it with 9 to shoot. Keith Ergo arguing the ball hit off the knee of Bailey. That official on the baseline. Back-to-back calls against the Rams. Bailey spinning. It's going to be a blocking foul on Josh Rivera. The gym wanted the charge as Bailey backed in. Rivera tumbled to the floor. But it's going to be a block and a 1-on-1 chance for Reed Bailey.
I don't know, man. I think the feet may have been set there. That's such a tough call to make, even in. We're not in the Davidson home arena, so it's, Fordham home arena. You think the thought is that the calls favor the home team. Block versus charge in an under 4-minute game is such a tough call to make.
Wildcats now in the double bonus. Reed Bailey clanks the first free throw off front rim. There's 3:19 to go in the second half. It's 69-62 Davidson. If Bailey misses this free throw, all fans in attendance get free Chick-fil-A. And the gym gets loud for that, as loud as it's been all afternoon, but Bailey cashes the second free throw. 70-62 Wildcats, 3:18 to go second half.
Still a 3-possession game, still with time.
Tripp up high, looking to attack Adam. Now against Bailey, Tripp bullies his way inside, kicks to Zona. Zona off the glass, wouldn't go. Rebound loose underneath, Rivera dives for it. It squirms free to Connor Kuchera. Kuchera spins away from Medor across the timeline. Under 3 to go in the second half. Still Davidson by 8. Bailey against Zona. He'll attack. Bailey to the far wing. Durkin's 3. Bang! Bobby Durkin. Just his second made three-pointer of the afternoon, but that makes it an 11-point Wildcats lead. Johnson in the corner trying to answer, couldn't get it to go. Tripped the offensive board. Out to Medor on the far wing. Jump step inside. Medor puts it up and in with the left hand. Back to single digits at 73-64 Wildcats, 2:24 to go second half. And the full court press from the Rams. Joseph has it in the backcourt. Medor and Rivera on him. Durkin up ahead to Bailey, 2-on-1. Against Zona, Bailey will retreat. Rivera and Zona doubling him. Bailey inside for Durkin. Up high, Adams open for 3, and that might be the dagger from Hunter Adam.
Yeah, they couldn't afford to allow another three-pointer. That one stings a lot.
Wildcats by 12, under 2 to go, second half. Medor into the paint. Up high again for Johnson straight away. He'll drive left. Johnson lefty float. Left it short. Rebound Kuchera. Durkin will step into a 3. Rattles in and out. Went for the confirmed kill on that one. Maybe an ill-advised shot that early into the shot clock.
The fact that he missed definitely helps the Rams.
Jackie Johnson driving on Joseph. Foul on the floor. And it will be a 1-and-1 chance coming for Jackie Johnson, with Davidson on top 76-64, 1:27 to go second half. The Rams just running out of time here.
Yeah, down 12 with 1:27. It's not over. You need a lot to go your way. You couldn't afford to give up that second 3, and it's not a defensive lapse the way it was earlier in the game. Fordham's pressing, and if Davidson beats it, you're going to get open looks. That's just how it goes.
I think the sequence that's going to haunt you if you're a Ram fan, as Johnson leaves the free throw short, it's the misconnection on the lob between Medor and Rivera, then getting a stop on the defensive end, and then the turnover from Jaffe. That's the stretch that's going to haunt you. Bailey inside for Durkin, stripped away from him, but it comes up high again for Reed Bailey. 1:13 on the game clock, 15 on the shot clock. Wildcats by 12. Bailey lost his footing in the lane. Medor the other way for Rivera. He'll lay it up and in underhand. 76-66, 1:02 to go second half. Timeout, Keith Urgo.
I mean, so we've seen crazier things. I mean, the Rams have one timeout. They're down 10. Odds are not in your favor. You're going to look back to that misconnection between Medor and Rivera, absolutely. I also think that timeout changed a lot for Davidson. They seemed a little more collected with the press break post that timeout from Keith Urgo. Bobby Durkin finally plays to the back of his basketball cart and hits an open 3. It quietly, or maybe not quietly, it depends on how dialed in you are at Davidson basketball. His struggles from beyond the arc, shooting below 30%. It's a guy that's been in the top 3 of the A10 3-point percentage all year long. Even when he's struggling, he's going to get his. So it's so tough to come back from a double-digit deficit like this.
Durkin, 2 of 10 from deep, but the one make was a huge one. That was probably the dagger. This game is following such a similar pattern to the first time these two teams played. A big halftime deficit. Fordham got back to single digits, but it was just too little, too late. Durkin in the backcourt runs the baseline, gets it into Laputte, double teamed by Johnson and Dean. Laputte ahead for Loughnane, who escapes across the timeline on the far side. 55 seconds to go on the game clock. And a foul called by Jackie Johnson up high on Bobby Durkin. 2 shots coming for Durkin.
Only player on the court that can't foul is Josh Rivera. He's got 4. At down 10, you really don't want him to foul. You're going to need his his offensive capability.
I think you have to give a lot of credit to a guy like Bobby Durkin in a game like this. He's a guy who 68% of his field goal attempts on the year are three-pointers as he misses the first free throw. So for him to go 2 of 10 from beyond the arc and still get to 17 points, still be willing to attack inside and get to the free throw line. Talking the rebounds too, just what a weapon for your team.
It goes to what we talk about, that these guys can all do a little bit of everything. You know, Reed Bailey's a phenomenal facilitator.
Durkin, a miss would give the fans Chick-fil-A, but he makes it off back rim. 77-66 Davidson. 52 seconds on the game clock. Fordham to inbound in the backcourt. And the Rams look as though they'll drop to 3-11 in Atlantic 10 play and remain in the basement of the conference. Timeout on the floor.
Maybe a clock violation? Or not, just an error with the...
Well, Jaffe Medor purposely didn't pick up the basketball,
Right.
so the clock didn't start, but it's possible it started before. It should have.
That's happened before. There was a time Jaffe Medor looked very, very unhappy. Fordham had already lost the game, but they rolled it out and they ran the clock before Fordham touched the ball, and I just remember Jaffe Medor glaring at the timekeeper.
And Medor, again, will let this ball trickle. Finally picks it up across the timeline. Medor driving baseline, inside on Kuchera, up high zona. He'll pop the three, front rim and out. Rebound loose, Tripp couldn't control. It comes to Kuchera, and that's going to be a foul against the Rams, and more free throws coming for Connor Kuchera.
I think that probably does it. And it's a testament to this Davidson team to withstand a rally and a surge like this from the Fordham Rams. I would say probably one of the best 10-minute sequences we've seen from Fordham all year long. For Davidson, through some scary moments, to ultimately keep their composure and keep Fordham from ever cutting this deficit to 5, a lot of credit goes their way. And they did a lot of it without Reed Bailey.
I was just going to say, to be able to do that without your star when it seems like the world's collapsing in. Kuchera goes 1 for 2 from the line. Rebound Tripp. To stay disciplined with such a small lineup out there, got to give credit to Matt McKillop's team. Tripp inside for Rivera, off his hands, off the baseline, and that's going to be a turnover.
To our point about the big three, that they're multifaceted. Like, yes, Bobby Durkin is a three-point specialist. He averages 6 rebounds a game, and
he's got 18 and 12.
Yeah, he gets his thing inside. You know, Reed Bailey is a dominant force in the paint. He's one of 12 forwards in D1 basketball that has 100 assists this year. Same company as Cooper Flagg, mind you. Like, there's a reason we talk about Reed Bailey as probably going to be the A-10 player of the year. I would say scouts should look at him next year, because he'll stay for a senior year. He's probably going to add to his frame a little bit. I think he's a little skinny for 6'10", but he's got the skills, I think, that could translate to the NBA.
Fordham intentionally fouls LaPute in the backcourt. The first free throw in and out.
And to round out the big three, what doesn't Kuchera do? It feels like, you know, outside of maybe some three-point struggles at times, it feels like he does a little bit of everything.
If you look at the box score, it plays like a big three. 17 for Bailey, 18 for Durkin, 17 for Kuchera. They've been the difference for Davidson in this one. LaPute misses both free throws, and the fans get free Chick-fil-A. Medor up ahead, inside for Zona, near wing Tripp. His three, that's perfect from Jameer Tripp. Fordham are probably going to lose this game with 23.2 to go in the second half, down by 9. But how about Jameer Tripp? 17 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. This might be the best we've seen Jameer Tripp all season long.
It's his best game in conference, and when you think about who he played in non-conference, when he really excelled, factor in the competition, I think it's probably his best game of the season. You keep hearing Keith Urgo and Trey Woodall talk about we need to play our best basketball going into A-10 tournament. Fordham's best basketball includes Jameer Tripp being a scoring force, either off the bench or maybe he works his way back into the starting lineup. Either way, Fordham at their best is Jameer Tripp being an elite scorer, a game changer that can break a game open and give you that extra offensive umbrella. In a game where it feels like the scoring's been balanced, it's kind of surprising. Only 2 Rams have reached double figures, but you get 21 from Johnson and 17 from Jameer Tripp. If you can get more from Jaffe Medor, more like what he's played like this season, and more from Josh Rivera, you might get some wins in the final 4 games of the season.
Fordham still in their full court pressure, and they foul with 22.5. Bobby Durkin back to the free throw line. But going back to Tripp, he looks almost like a completely different guy out there in this game.
And there was a level of confidence right from the jump that we frankly have not seen all season long. It was weird to talk about Jameer Tripp as a non-factor for long stretches in games because he was such a game breaker in non-conference play. He was their number 2 scorer, but he was also an elite rebounder. He was a good facilitator. He made plays defensively.
First free throw good from Durkin. You think about the night that someone like Josh Rivera has had, who's been that third scoring option for this team of late, just 3 of 10 shooting, 8 points. Jaffe Mador also only 8 points on 3 of 11 shooting. The only reason why Fordham were able to make this run a little bit in the second half is because of the play of Jameer Tripp.
Look, I think it's another quiet game for Josh Rivera off the bench, 3 of 10 shooting. I wonder if you think about putting him back on the bench. He was so good as the 6th man.
Mador, his 3 no good. Rebound Durkin, 13 seconds, and Fordham will not foul. Davidson can dribble this ball out. It's 80-69. That's going to be the final score here from the Rose Hill Gym. The Wildcats defeat the Rams for the 2nd time this season. Fordham falls to 3-11 in the Atlantic 10. They'll stay in the basement of the conference in last place as we approach the end of this Atlantic 10 regular season. Lou, a positive push from the Rams in the second half, but a couple of missed opportunities on offense. Some calls don't go their way, some out-of-bounds calls, and Fordham just not able to claw all the way back in this one.
The tale is old this time. You put yourself in a 17-point hole, probably not going to win that game. I think there's a lot of positives to take away from what they did in the second half, and you just hope that fuels the remaining 4 games on this schedule, because it was an electric second half.
We're joined now by Fordham men's basketball assistant coach Ronald Ramon. Coach, first off, I want to ask about Jameer Tripp. 17 points for him, 8 boards. It's been probably the best he's played in conference play so far. Just what did you see out of him?
I think he just played harder today, man. He came out, he had different energy. It started defensively. He started playing some defense, trying to get some rebounds, and I think that got him started. I think we fought back. You know, we got a little at the beginning of the game. We wasn't playing the defense that we wanted to play. I think Bailey is a great player. He was getting to his spots. We readjusted, came back in the second half, started doubling him. We started doing different things, and I think guys started playing a little bit harder, and I think that gave us a chance to run and transition and being able to score in an open floor.
You look at the way the game and the energy in this building shifted when you had the press out there and you got Davidson frazzled. What did you see in the final 10 minutes of this game, the surge you got from your guys?
Like I said, man, I think guys were playing very, very hard. It shows that they won. These kids are not going to quit. They're going to continue to play every single day, and that's what we can ask for. We want to be the best team we could possibly be at the end of the year, and I think that's what we're striving for.
Coach, thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Coach.
it.
That's Fordham men's basketball assistant coach Ronald Ramon. Davidson 80, Fordham 69. That's the final score from the Rose Hill Gym. Lou, Fordham falls to 3-11 in the Atlantic 10. Next up, probably the hardest game they're going to play all season on the road on Wednesday against George Mason. Just 1 loss in conference play. They're 12-1. But for Fordham, I think you look at this game, the positives are Jameer Tripp. You fought back in the second half, but there's still so much to clean up on both ends.
There's a lot that really needs to get cleaned up. I am going to praise the way they rallied in this second half. I think it deserves a lot of recognition and a lot of praise for the way they battled down the stretch in a game that, Nick, both you and I thought was not going to be competitive in the second half. At the same time, there's a reason this game wasn't competitive in the first half, and it has a lot to do with what they did wrong, both defensively and offensively. So we can't lose our minds about 10, 12 minutes of really good Fordham basketball when the other 28 was nowhere near what it needed to be. But you hope, and what you like to see, is that there was a pushback from the Rams. And I think conversely, when you look at that Duquesne game, I'll push back against Keith Urgo. I don't think the effort was where it needed to be in a game that was tied 31-31 at halftime. The effort was here today, and that makes me think that this team hasn't given up. And are they the most talented team in the A-10? Absolutely not. I don't think they're the least talented team in the A-10, but you are what your record says you are. Anything can happen in college basketball, and for this Fordham team, it's less about winning an A-10 title, and it's more about feeling good about yourselves and feeling like you got the most out of what you could at season's end, and that means playing your rear end off the next 4 games, battling against some really solid opponents. Right now, the favorite in the A10, George Mason, and going into A10 play with a full head of steam. You play the way you did the final 10 minutes here, you will get some wins, or you will have some close games down the stretch here, and it will look a lot different than it has for most of this year.
So for Fordham, it's Mason down in Fairfax, Virginia on Wednesday. Then it's back home for 2 games against St. Joe's and GW before one last road trip to URI to end the season. For Davidson, they improved to 6-8 in A10 play, 16-11 overall. As we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, they've got a tough slate to end this season. They'll host St. Louis on Tuesday, then 2 road games against VCU and Loyola Chicago, 2 of the premier teams in this conference, before ending off with a home date against St. Bonaventure.
It's going to be tough, but Davidson's not a 12 seed. I really firmly believe that. They've got too much talent. They might end up playing on day 1 of the A10 tournament, and that's a testament to how tight and how thick this conference has been throughout the course of the season. But they don't make him any better than Reed Bailey. You just watch. If you watch on ESPN, if you listen to us, that's one of the best players, if not the best player in the A10. That's the guy that I think is going to win A10 Player of the Year. When you have the best player in the conference and you have a supporting starting group like Durkin and Cochera, that's a team that can, no matter where they're seated, they can upset anyone and they can break up. They can break up a tournament like that.
That will just about do it here from the Rose Hill Gym. For Lou Orlando, Annabelle Watson, I'm Nick Guzman. The final score, Davidson 80, Fordham 69. We'll send it back to our Rose Hill studios for the one-on-one postgame with Zach Cordova.
The one-on-one postgame report.
Welcome into the one-on-one post-game report. I'm Zach Cordova alongside Mary Hawthorn, and the Fordham Rams, after battling back in the second half, have fallen to the Davidson Wildcats 80-69. Even though we got a tough loss, hey, we got a little bit more of a competitive game here in the second half than we thought, echoing the words of Lou Orlando there, saying, hey, we walked into halftime, almost down 20, didn't look great. Fordham was really, really on the slide, especially none of the shots really hitting. The team looked like they were going into halftime deflated, and even though they don't win, they don't come out with a win, they don't even come within single digits, the Fordham Rams still outscored Davidson in the second half, and I think there's got to be some positives to that.
No, definitely. I think we can look at some positives here. I think that the last 10 minutes of this game was full effort from Fordham men's basketball, which is exactly what we had kind of been wanting and yearning for the entire game. So that was great basketball played these last few minutes. Another positive is just Jameer Tripp in the entire second half. He was incredible. Let's see how many points he had.
17.
17 points. I mean, unbelievable. Definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Actually, a double-double for him. 17 points, 10 rebounds for Jameer Tripp. Really came alive today, and we were talking about it at halftime. Lou mentioned it earlier in the game. Up to this point, Jameer Tripp has kind of been a non-factor when it comes to conference play for the Rams, and today was a different story. He showed up, and he played one of the best games, I want to say, this season for him, if not his best game this season. Now, he did play a great game. You can't take away from Jackie Johnson, though, as well for the Rams. 21 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and he knocked down 3 threes for the Rams. 3 of the Rams' 8 threes that they would knock down on the day. It was just the shots started falling finally in the second half, especially once the Rams got a run going, cut the lead down eventually. But what I do want to talk about is that missed lob opportunity from Jaffe Medor to, I believe it was to Josh Rivera, threw it behind him and misses an open layup in a run that would have cut the lead, I believe, to 5 at the time for the Rams. And it seemed like after that play, all momentum was killed. Jaffe Medor comes down the very next play, turns the ball over immediately, and after that, it just kind of seemed like it was it for the Rams. That was kind of their final hurrah there.
No, definitely. And I think to Coach Whittle's point about this kind of desire to fight back and this sort of fiery passion that came over the team, I think that it was just sort of put to a halt right at that moment. It was very tough to kind of come back from something like that.
And the crowd was definitely starting to get more and more into it at that moment, and the commentator said it would have erupted if he would have gotten that lob and gotten that dunk to go. And who knows if this would have ended any differently if that lob goes down, but Davidson came back alive, and it seemed like whenever Fordham got close, they had an answer, and that answer was, as we mentioned before, the three-headed dragon or whatever we called it earlier of Bailey, Cochera, and Durkin. 17, 20, and 17 for those three guys tonight for Davidson, and they really just put the team on their back for Davidson. Their starting lineup is really solid. They're shooting really good, and Fordham finally did seem to find some answers for Bailey here in the second half, but it was Durkin who took over, finished with 20 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. What a game for him.
Definitely. An unbelievable game. And what I'm really curious about is how they're going to apply maybe what's been learned from this game, especially in the second half, to their fight against George Mason this coming week. I mean, that's an incredibly tough team, as Lou and Nick said. I'm curious maybe what you think they're going to go into this game sort of thinking.
You definitely got to build off of this second half, and for this season, it's been frustrating for the Rams because they show flashes of really great basketball, and today we got a glimpse of that here in the second half. They went on a really good run of good basketball where they were scoring over and over again. The press was, I think, what the difference maker was here in the second half. As soon as they threw that press on, it didn't seem like Davidson had an answer for them, and it woke Fordham up a little bit. Jaffe Medor got 4 steals in that second half as well. It wakes them up. They realize they can play with this team because they made Davidson a little bit nervous on the offensive end. They weren't getting down the floor as easily now. They were maybe getting a little bit tired having to run through that press the whole time. It's the intensity that we want from this Fordham team. We want them to play like this, like it's a 5-point game at all times, and it's going to be trying to find that balance now to finish out the season, figuring out how they can keep that going without any of the bad, because you have that good streak and then it gets all ended because they miss a lob opportunity and then they turn the ball over the next play and then shots start missing again, and then the team seems like the wheels are falling off again. They need to find how to get through those rough patches without completely falling apart going to the season. But the second half is definitely something to look at for the Rams to build on going into their final couple matchups of the season before they hit the A10 tournament. This is a positive in the second half. Yes, they don't come away with the win today, but I look at the second half as a really big positive for the Rams. But now they need to figure out how they could keep that going.
No, definitely. And I think something else important to mention is what Annabelle had said. The energy on the bench had shifted in the second half. Even the dynamic of the entire gym was more positive. And I think that although it's not, the most significant factor of, the team's success, it certainly shifted how the team played. I think that positive energy that filled Rose Hill Gym definitely helped the team narrow that huge gap to single digits, which was quite an accomplishment in itself.
Definitely. And it's the slow starts for Fordham. I feel like that's killed them a lot this season. Davidson scores 41 in the second half to Fordham's 24, and then Fordham scores 45 in the second half. They shoot 51% from the field, 35% from three. They look like an actual team there. Where Davidson, second half, 25% from three-point range. They went 42% from the field. Their numbers dipped a little bit because it seemed like Fordham picked up the intensity finally. They finally woke up a little bit. That first half seemed a little bit lackluster, like they were still a little bit asleep. But they woke up in that second half. And Davidson, you got to give them credit for closing this one out. And like we mentioned, the big three for them, 2017 and 17. If you're Fordham, you coming into this game knowing what these guys are capable of, knowing that these are the main guys, and if they go off, they're going to win. It's going to be finding how to fix some things on the defensive end, how to slow guys down. They were able to slow down Reed Bailey in the second half, but they let Durkin go off. They let Cochera go off. So they got to figure out how to patch up some of these holes. They have some answers in terms of they were able to make the adjustments to stop Bailey. It's stopping the other guys too, getting the whole team involved. And during that run where they had the energy going, it looked like a Fordham team who could possibly cause some upsets going into the tournament, maybe go on a little bit of a run, maybe just give someone a good game right off the bat. But Fordham's going to have to figure out how to patch up some holes, both offensively and defensively, if they're going to really make any sort of noise in the A10 tournament.
No, definitely. And something else that I'm curious about to touch on Davidson's team, what are your thoughts on Nick and Lou's sort of take that maybe Reed Bailey could be A10 Player of the Year. I definitely think this game was a testament to his agility as both an offensive and defensive player. 17 points, 3 rebounds. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that he could be the Player of the Year?
I believe coming into this one, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's averaging 19 and 6, I want to believe. Something like that. That's a really good stat line for the season. Today, 17, slowed down a little bit, still got to his number, though, even though he had a really slow second half. And part of that is due to the fact that he had 4 fouls in that second half, didn't get to play as much. He still gets to his number, still gets to 17, puts up a really good performance. I haven't seen the complete pool for the A10, but I definitely do think Reed Bailey should be one of those names that you look out for an A10 Player of the Year. He had a phenomenal game today despite only playing 29 minutes. He's someone to look out for. He's definitely one of the impact players. He is the impact player of this Davidson team. He's their key to success. And going off with that, too, this Davidson team is somebody that can also give somebody a run in the A10 tournament, maybe upset somebody in the first round, because when you have that big 3 going, if you get all 3 of those guys going where you like tonight, 20, 17, and 17, and that's with the foul trouble, if you get those guys come in where they're staying out of their foul trouble and they're all able to play freely, they're going to be a really tough team to beat.
No, definitely. I completely agree. As we've kind of mentioned again and again, this sort of 3-headed monster of these 3 dominant offensive players will definitely give any team, regardless of their standing in the A10s, I think, a run for their money.
Yeah, definitely. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap it up. That'll do it for this afternoon's postgame report. The Fordham Rams fall to the Davidson Wildcats in a frustrating one for Fordham, even though they came back. 80-69, the Fordham Rams lose tonight. We appreciate you tuning in, but before we go, I'd like to shout out our crew for tonight's broadcast. We had Nick Guzman and Lou Orlando on the call. Owen Kelty was on double duty tonight on the board and engineering today's show. Big thank you to Owen Kelty. And finally, I was joined in the studio by Mary Hawthorn, getting her Updates debut. What a debut it was for you, Mary. Great job. I've been Zach Cordova, and Fordham Women's Basketball is a production of WFUV Sports. Have a great weekend, everyone.